What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your boy Adam Perez back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today as we got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down today. We are literally a weekend away from San Diego Comic-Con. Kevin Feige is currently doing his rounds, doing some amazing interviews. We're going to be breaking down some of the things that Kevin Feige is certainly talking about as we give ourselves a little bit of a Marvel Studios San Diego Comic-Con preview for you guys today. We're also going to get into some big Avengers news, as apparently they have in fact found their directors for Avengers 5 as well as 6. We even have some DCU Supergirl talk here today as Meg Donnelly, who auditioned for the role, talks about the process, and guys, a ton more. So certainly stick around and we'll see you on the other side. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're certainly watching us from today, going live from good old Fort Worth, Texas, also from the Bay Area where Stuart is from. It is good to see each and every one of you guys certainly back once again. We love spending our Sundays with you, truly. I love wrapping up our weekend. We got some great content and some great topics we're going to be talking about today for you guys today. But Stuart, buddy, what's going on, man? How you been, bro?
I've been good. Been a good week. I am still kind of in the process of waking up, but other than that, I am ready to go.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's 10 o'clock where you're at, and it's about noon right now, and I feel like I'm still trying to wake up. I got my coffee in hand, so hopefully that'll help me push through today's show. Look, I feel like I'm a little bit on Acolyte hangover here, man. Since us talking about it Wednesday night, we've been posting several clips. And I think we have a couple more clips too that I'm going to be posting through the rest of this week, also. But how are you feeling? Fresh off of Star Wars: The Acolyte wrapping up last week.
Oh man, I really enjoyed watching it week to week. Definitely gonna, I don't know, it's like weird because I think I'm gonna miss the podcast more than I am actually gonna miss the show itself. And yeah, I'm kind of in that boat of I'm not necessarily needing a season 2, but if a season 2 comes out, I'll definitely give it a watch.
You know, I'm starting to lean a little bit more to, yeah, I would like a season 2. You know,
Yeah.
I think before I was kind of like in the middle of the road. Like if it happens, that's cool. If not, no big deal. I feel like I'm still there, but I'm definitely leaning towards the idea. Like I don't think it would hurt for a season 2, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, guys, I will agree. I love doing the podcast with you guys as we had a little bit of a Jedi Council for a Hero Report here. Hopefully we can do it again. We will be talking a little bit about Skeleton Crew later in the show. So we'll see. We'll see what the end of the year certainly looks like for everybody. Wherever you guys are watching us from, man, shout out to you guys certainly coming through today. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet. If you want to share these videos, certainly feel free to certainly do so, and definitely participate along. While we talk and discuss these topics, these are just simply our A+ opinions, but at the end of the day, we always want to know your guys's. So let us know some of your thoughts. Feel free to interact, join in the conversation if you'd like to, and we'll definitely give you guys your flowers for certainly participating today. Who is in the live chat with us, man? Let's check this out. Enrique, what's up, Enrique? Brother from another mother, probably. He says, just saw the official new 30-minute trailer for the new Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, and it reveals all-star celebrity new voice cast. I didn't know there was a new, you said 30-minute trailer. There's got to be like a 3-minute trailer. I hope that's a typo. I can't imagine them
revealed the first episode.
Well, maybe. I did hear about some of the brand new casting. A lot of the people are back from the Mutant Mayhem series. So I think that's really encouraging just to continue to have that cohesiveness between the voices and just the storyline purposes. So I do think a lot of the people from Mutant Mayhem are returning. So that shouldn't be too big of a surprise with the voice cast coming back. But I am looking forward to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man. I hope they're easily digestible. I don't know how many episodes we're getting, but whatever you let us know if you know any more details, Enrique. Also, the official 15-minute teaser trailer for the final season of Superman and Lois. Are they showing like these long ass clips? Like I can't imagine they're this long, right?
No, for Superman and Lois, that was a 15-second trailer.
Oh, 15-second trailer.
That was a teaser to hype people up for the fact that there's a trailer coming next week. I assume it's premiering at Comic-Con.
Maybe that's what he meant when he meant 30-minute trailer. Maybe he meant to put 30-second trailer for Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and 15-second teaser trailer for this. But yeah, Superman and Lois, we will be getting ourselves a teaser trail or a teaser trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. Also, just confirm my Avengers of Superman animated series is in production for a third season in a 7-second teaser trailer. What else we got? And San Diego Comic-Con is just days away with reveals about first looks on Transformers 1, Star Trek, including Marvel Studios panels with movies and series. Look, I am getting closer and closer, Stuart, to believing I think I might do something live for Marvel Studios panel on Saturday night.
Awesome.
So if you guys want to join me for the Marvel Studios Hall H panel breakdown, I don't think they're going to be live streaming or anything like that, but people will be sort of live blogging about it. And I'm sure posters, first looks, information will probably be dropping as the panel's going on. So I'll probably do a live reaction to all the news and information that's coming out of the Marvel Studios panel on Saturday night. So if anything, maybe I'll do like a preview thumbnail and post it on the YouTube channel so everybody can mark your calendars and know exactly when to kind of join. But I'm excited for San Diego Comic-Con. I usually always am every year. I believe it begins this upcoming Thursday. So if you guys want to follow along with all the news that winds up dropping, check us out, especially on our Facebook page at A Plus Opinions, as you guys see down below. If anything, I'll make sure that the rest of the team is working hard this week to get all the stuff updated on a timely manner for you guys on the Facebook page, whether that be new posters, new trailers, new articles, and details that wind up dropping. So definitely follow us over on the Facebook page too. We got Ram Jam in the house. What's up, Ram Jam? Certainly good to see you. He says, rest in peace to comedy legend Bob Newhart, who passed away at the age of 94.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I'm glad he lived a long life, though, for sure.
Yeah, I'll always remember him as I think Pop Elf, right? In the Elf movie with Will Ferrell.
Yes, that was him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We got Sam. What's up, Sam? Did you see the new trailer for season 6 for Cobra Kai? I would like to see another 80s film into TV series like The Lost Boys or the Frog Brothers series. I'm not too familiar with the Frog Brothers series, though.
With The Lost Boys, though, you'd have to reboot it, though, because obviously if you got the same actors, well, I guess you could get the two main brothers again. But like if you had, oh wait, no, never mind. Sorry. My mind was thinking they were all vampires, and then I remembered, no, all the vampires in that movie died. So yeah, technically you could do do like a sequel to that movie. Yeah, that could technically work.
I don't know if they came out with another Cobra Kai trailer. I believe we did look at one together either last week or the week before in honorable mentions, but I haven't seen another one since then. But maybe they did release something else. Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? About a week ago, Shelley Duvall, who's known for Wendy from The Shining, has sadly passed away.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, I heard about that. I think I heard about that.
She passed? Let me look this up, man. Did she? Yeah, July 11th. That's so sad. Man, I remember her from mostly while a lot of people remember her really from The Shining, I always remember her as my Olive Oil from Popeye, from the Robin Williams Popeye movie back in 1980. I think a few months ago, maybe sometime last year, we might have talked briefly about the idea of a Popeye live action something happening, and I think we discussed the Popeye movie a little bit and gave Shelley Duvall her flowers. So I guess if anything, I'm glad that we got to say something great about her during that time before she wound up passing. So that's sad.
Yeah.
Sad news though. Shout out to Blossom. What's up, Blossom? Appreciate you certainly coming through today, man, as always. But yeah, guys, wherever you're watching us live from today, do us a big favor. Hit that like button or retweet. Feel free to share. Again, we don't have any outsider sponsorships or anything like that, so we really do grow with your guys' help and assistance. If you want to help out the channel monetarily, feel free to submit a super chat over. We'll certainly stop whatever we're doing. We'll highlight your comment and certainly give you the floor to discuss whatever it is that you want to in your super chat. But that's really how we grow here as a channel. If not, if you can't help out monetarily, that's certainly more than fine. Hitting that like button, that subscribe button is absolutely free. So definitely go ahead and help us out in any way. Enrique says Disney D23 fan event is just 1 month away. I'm eager for it. I have a feeling. I don't know if we're going to get any Skeleton Crew news at San Diego Comic-Con, Stuart, but with D23 being a month away, I do expect some sort of presence from Lucasfilm there to maybe give us at least a bit of a teaser trailer as to what we're going to be getting for Skeleton Crew, and maybe some additional like movie announcements. I don't know if they would like make new movie announcements, but I would like to at least learn like the update. Like, can I get a status on some of these movies that you've announced before? And I think
Also,
last. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say also Andor season 2, please, like an
Yeah.
announcement or a
Yeah.
trailer.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a teaser trailer or something like that. I believe I don't know if it's wrap production. I think it might have wrap production already. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I would like to see something from Andor. And if anything, fresh off of the potential success of Deadpool and Wolverine, we talked about this last week that Sean Levy might have a movie. Maybe that's something that they might confirm if they feel like it's if they've got the pieces in place. So we'll see, man. But I'm looking forward to D23 for sure.
Mhm.
All right, Stu. With that out of the way, man, after giving some people some love for joining us here in the live chat, let's get into our first segment of the day. Let's get into our honorable mentions, y'all. For those of you watching us for the first time, honorable mentions, pretty much just topics that we felt that you certainly still deserve to know, that we didn't necessarily put in our top 6 to certainly discuss. Didn't quite make our cut, but definitely felt it was still important for you guys to certainly know about it. I will go ahead and just start off with this one real quick, Stuart. And this is something that you might be into. Superman and Lois. Enrique did talk about it here. We are expecting a teaser trailer for Superman and Lois this upcoming weekend at San Diego Comic-Con. But the final season is set to go ahead and drop October 17th. We got this really cool teaser poster of Superman's cape, battle damaged, just floating into space sort of thing. Are you excited, Stu?
Very. I am excited. I'm also kind of dreading because I know it's going to be, if it's anything like the previous season, it's going to be depressing, especially because we're starting the teaser. All they give us is that Superman is dead. Now, obviously, we know that's not going to last the entire season. I mean, the show is titled Superman and Lois, but still, like, you give us an entire season telling us, in season 3, oh, we could lose Lois Lane at any moment. This is getting bad. And then suddenly Superman, faces Doomsday, the character that killed him in the comic books. And now we open up season 4 with Superman is dead. So it's like, it's going to be intense. Lois is still battling, struggling with cancer. And now she's, it's going to be even harder. And we still don't know the stats with Sam Lane because he got captured in the last episode. So we still don't know what's going on with him. It's going to be a rough season, but in a good way. So I'm excited.
Maybe we'll get like a Rocky moment where you've got Lois like in the hospital bed. Maybe she's like coming in, through her remission. Like she's battling the cancer, and a battered and broken Superman after his battle from Doomsday is like beside her bed and trying to encourage her. And she's the one that tells him, what does she tell? What does Adrian tell Rocky in there to like fight or something like that, right? And from Rocky to win. From Rocky
Yeah.
to. And then
what are we waiting for?
Yeah, and then Superman just goes out there and kicks Doomsday's ass in their second battle. I would love to see something like that.
Yes.
Win. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, look forward to the teaser trailer for that this upcoming weekend. For those of you who were watching the Halo television series, they have in fact canceled it on Paramount Plus after 2 seasons. It says the streamer has canceled its video game adaptation. It finished its 2nd season in March. It says we are extremely proud of this ambitious series and would like to thank our partners, yada, yada, yada. We wish everyone the best kind of going forward, was a statement put out from Paramount Plus. It says sources say the show's producers will look to land the series at another outlet for a 3rd season. Paramount Plus is said to be supportive of a possible move. So that is something I will be interested in seeing if another streaming service maybe perhaps feels like they can do a little bit better. Anytime I will say this though, Stuart, anytime anybody says we're canceling the series and then they want to shop the series around, it never really gives me high hopes. I don't feel like I see it very often, at least, where somebody will cancel it but then somebody else happens to pick it up. Not to say it doesn't happen, but I think after the cold sort of reception that Halo wind up getting, even though I did hear better things about the second season, I am kind of curious if this is something that anybody is willing to kind of take up. Like, will Amazon Prime kind of step up and be like, hey, we're kind of doing our video game adaptation thing pretty well here. Like, let's maybe take a crack at it. Or do you think this is definitely the end for Halo?
I think it's the end for Halo. I'm surprised it lasted a second season. I assume it might have been one of those things where it was contracted for 2 seasons, and that's why. And I say that not because I myself have anything against the show. I haven't even seen it yet, but just everything I hear, not only from online discourse, but even from like some of my friends that are really big Halo fans. Yeah, they did not like it at all. But my brother and my dad seem to really enjoy it, so I'm sure this will be upsetting news for them.
I'm sorry you have to break the news to them, Stuart.
It's going to be tough.
Just bring the tissues, console them as best as you can. Let me see. Did you have any honorable mentions by any chance?
I did. So this one actually, there's I believe one of our live viewer questions brings it up, but I'm too excited, so I have to talk about it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Teaser for Dragon Ball Daima doesn't give us much, but it gives us like some new characters that are going to be joining in the show, and just really shows off the animation, which looks absolutely like incredible. It sucks that it's taken this long to get a Dragon Ball series where it's not just kind of a rush thing where it's like every week we got to produce a new episode. This is something where it's like they're not releasing until it's complete. And because of that, the quality definitely shows. And it's going to be really cool to see, the very last thing that Akira Toriyama worked on before he passed away. Because unlike Dragon Ball Super, the manga or the TV show, this is something that he actually did write for in like every single episode. He didn't just kind of like leave notes for other people to turn into episodes and chapters. Instead, he actually was fully involved, just like he was with the movies. So I'm really excited to see what this is going to look like.
So there was a trailer for it.
Yeah, it was a small trailer, only 1 minute 8 seconds. But yeah, it shows off some of the new characters, shows a little more of the villain.
Can you pull that? Can you pull that up? Can you pull it up? Maybe
I sure can.
I would be kind of curious to see what this looks like. I hadn't had the opportunity to see it, and I love anything Dragon Ball Z related. This is part of a live viewer question somebody submitted earlier.
Yeah, someone asked if we had if I had checked out the trailer, or if we had checked out the trailer yet. It's weird.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out for sure now.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I forgot to turn the sound on. I don't think there's subtitles.
What's the basis behind this again? This is before the end of Dragon Ball Z's post-credit clip or something, right?
Yeah, so it would be before Dragon Ball Super, but after Dragon Ball Z. So in between those two shows. I'm not sure if Super is canon to this, or if this is just like kind of another alternate timeline where it's like right after Dragon Ball Z, but Super doesn't count or something. I'm not sure exactly what the continuity is, but I'm going to for now assume that it is fully canon within the Dragon Ball Z timeline.
Okay. Oh, I don't think the volume is up. Is it?
Volume's not working?
Yeah, I don't hear the volume on my end. Sometimes when you go share, make sure the audio button is share audio button is highlighted.
Oh, okay.
In the comments, if you guys know the canon timeline for the series to clarify for us, put it in the comment section, please. I think you're right. I think it is after Dragon Ball Z, but before Super.
Here we go, I think. Oh, there we go. Cool.
Cool kid designs for them. Oh yeah, animation looks great.
Yeah, very well polished.
They're making a new capsule. Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, okay. I can definitely see how this takes place after Dragon Ball Z for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a cool design. Nice. Okay. I dig
Yeah.
it, man. I dig it.
Um so yeah, they get like turned into kids, kind of like in GT, except for this time it's not just Goku, it's like all of them.
Okay.
And with the ones that are already kids, like you see Goten and Trunks, they straight up turn into babies. And then what's interesting is that we see that the Supreme Kai is no longer fused with his assistant. I always forget
Uh-huh.
his name. So I'm wondering if like the spell that turns them all into kids also just happens to separate them, because technically when they were
Mm.
kids they weren't like fused, or however that works. But yeah, it looks yeah, again, looks very different. Looks not what I expected from a new Dragon Ball series, but that's okay. I'm really excited to see what they go with it. This sounds like something that Kira Toriyama was super passionate about. So I look forward to seeing how it all plays out.
Yeah, I hope it plays out well. I mean, look, anytime I see Goku as a kid again, it does bring me back to GT days, and so I do kind of worry a little bit. But since it's Toriyama helming the ship this time around, I'll definitely give it an opportunity. I just don't understand. I just don't know why we keep going back to this well of let's turn them into kids. It's like we've done this before, guys. So there's an element that I kind of would like to have seen it something different in this regards. Like I'm ready for the point of seeing like Goten and Trunks as like teenagers. I was like, I
Mhm.
really I want to see them grown up. Like I don't want us to continue to keep going back in time with some of these characters. So I definitely, while I don't necessarily know if this is the the series I personally have been like waiting for. Like I'm still waiting for more Super, honestly.
Yes.
But because it's Toriyama and he's got this idea for Dragon Ball Daima here, I'm gonna give it a shot for sure because it does creatively it looks really awesome. So we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's good is that we'll still have Super manga coming out. I don't know if it'll ever be adapted to anime. I hope it does sometime soon. But since it picks up right after the last Super movie, when the new Super manga comes out, Goten and Trunks are going to be kind of like older teenagers. They even have like the funniest explanation where, like, even though it's only been a couple years since we last see them as kids, the way Saiyans grow is that apparently when they hit a growth spurt, it literally happens like that. And that's why suddenly, like out of nowhere, Goten and Trunks like are suddenly looking like actual teenagers.
It just grow. Yeah, just wake up one morning and you've like put on 3 feet instantly.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Other honorable mention, we did get ourselves a brand new poster here for Batman Cape Crusader. I really love this one. Just kind of like a rogues gallery in the shadows a little bit down this dark alleyway. But yeah, the brand new animated series, August 1st, will in fact be dropping Batman Cape Crusader. Let us know, guys, in the comment section if you want us to review this animated series for the channel, whether that be like weekly. I don't know how they're going to release it, if they're going to drop it all at once or not. But we'll definitely keep you posted if you guys want us to review Batman Cape Crusader, the animated series. But yeah, we did get ourselves a brand new poster there.
Looks so good.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. We also got some brand new Alien news. We'll dive into this a little bit real quick, Stuart, because before we get into Alien Romulus, for those of you who remember, there also is an Alien television series that is in fact happening. And this week, Noah Hawley revealed to us the title of his Alien series titled Alien Earth. This comes to us from Variety. He says, we just wrapped production. So now I'm into the long post that gets into visual effects, is what Holly wound up telling Variety. He says it's a very big show. It's nice to have some time with it. The first year of anything, you want to feel like you're not up against the wall in terms of time. I've seen 4 of the 8 hours of director's cut and engaged in the process of figuring out cinematically what it wants to be. It's one of my favorite parts of making a show. So yeah, looks like we got ourselves. He says we're pretty bullish on Alien Earth, and we've told him that's assuming, as we hope Alien Earth is a returning television series. We want him to focus on at least writing 2 seasons of it before returning to a possible 6 seasons of Fargo. That's what they say. Alien Earth serves as a prequel to Ridley Scott's 1979 Alien film.
Oh, a prequel.
Yeah, so it's a prequel series, so some people know.
Interesting.
So yeah.
I wonder if they take like the Alien versus Predator route, where like they swarm a city or a town, and the reason we don't know about them is because the government just nukes the city at the end, kind of like in Resident Evil.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And then that does lead us into our Alien Romulus trailer that we wind up getting here this week. I do think it was an IMAX trailer specifically, because they did have the IMAX symbol on the screen as we're watching it. And I do think even in the trailer it says IMAX in big words, like the fear is like incredible in IMAX or some crap like that. I can't remember what it is. So they're definitely hinting at the idea of go see this movie in IMAX. And I gotta say, Stuart, I thought the new trailer was incredible, man. I'm really on board with this. I think Fede Alvarez, who's going to be the director of this film, might have just struck gold with this one. I feel like just from the trailer perspective, you can definitely see the tone and the vibe and the atmosphere he's trying to exude. It definitely feels like a classic Alien film to me, whether that be a mixture of 1 and 2 together, from the claustrophobic aspects to the action itself. And I do like even some of the character elements that they're hinting at in here, as it seems as though these people are trying to escape the terrible lives that they live on their planet, and they seemingly come up with this idea of like, hey, let's go to this abandoned space freighter, get some high-tech equipment, and possibly like sell it in order to get ourselves off this planet and out of this crappy life that we're living. And in turn, they just really stumble across the wrong ship, Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the trailer?
I thought the trailer looked freaking amazing. I love, like, not only like you said, the claustrophobia is back that you get from the original Alien, but I love that we even got like a lot of practical effects from the looks of it. There's a little CG here and there, but there's so much that you can tell is like actually there. You get like a scene where a ship is kind of like not crashing, but it's like kind of landing inside the other ship, and I don't think that was CG. I'm 90% sure that was a real shift, but if it was CG, then holy crap, that fooled me. And that's exactly what good CG should do. And then not to mention some of the, angles that we get are very different from the other Alien movie. Like we always see like the face huggers, like just attach themselves, but we always see it like with the character getting the face hugger, like, facing the camera, we never see it in the sideways view. And it's so disturbing to see like what it looks like as it's attaching itself to you. Like it's this disturbing, but in the right way, the way a movie like this needs to be. And so it looks like they're really trying to take the horror aspect and really bring that back into this. And that is something I'm so excited for.
Yeah, bro. Seeing that face hugger side view, every time I watch it, I'm like, oh
yeah. God. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like cringing at that. I'm like, oh.
So yeah, bro.
I was watching. So for context, everyone, I was watching it live with Adam, like noticing me watching the trailer like on side right before we went live, and so I was cringing at that. I'm not sure if he noticed.
It's pretty cringy, man. And like I'm really looking for like even the shot of her putting the light behind her back and it reflecting through her chest, and you can see the creature inside. Like it makes my chest hurt. Like literally just watching it. Like, I can't even imagine what that's got to be like. But I'm really looking forward to this movie. I think they definitely have captured my attention. I think this film is going to be huge. So shout out to Fede Alvarez, and I hope it sticks the landing for sure. And then last but not least, for our honorable mention, Beetlejuice. we wind up getting ourselves a brand new Beetlejuice teaser, or I should say, an official trailer this time around to accompany the brand new post that we wind up getting. This drops September 6th. Stuart, I'm gonna be honest. I did not know what to expect from this trailer, but there are definitely, I don't want to say it's because the first Beetlejuice was definitely comedic, you know. This, I don't want to say this is takes itself too lightheartedly, but I don't know why I get vibes of like the classic Beetlejuice cartoon from like the 90s in here a little bit. I don't know, it just feels like it really embraces the comedy aspect a little bit more, with all like the shrunken heads. And I don't know if he's like a private detective. Like, it seems like he's taking jobs and helping out people from the afterlife or in the real world, sort of. Like, I don't know what to make of the Beetlejuice character, or what his, I don't want to say his purpose, but like what's driving him in this movie. But it is fascinating. Like, the way that this trailer is put together, it almost feels like Lydia's daughter says she doesn't believe in ghosts. And I almost feel like Lydia's just calling Beetlejuice to kind of prove to her daughter, like, no, he's real. Look, but I know there's more to it because they talk about her being kind of kidnapped and whatever the case may be. So I don't know what's going on. I wonder, like, if behind the scenes Beetlejuice is pulling all these strings in order to marry the daughter to get closer to Lydia, and he's like pretending to kind of help them find her. I don't know what's going on with this trailer, but what did you think of it when you saw it?
Oh, I haven't. I'm so sorry, I haven't seen the second trailer
Oh,
yet.
okay.
But
No
from the way
problem.
you're describing it, it sounds like they really wanted to go for like the opposite kind of feel of the first trailer. Because I thought it was really bizarre with the first trailer that was released, where it had a very like kind of like serious, almost depressed, borderline depressing kind of tone to it, which felt very much like the opposite of the first of the movie. So it sounds like this one was kind of made to go, oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong, we're just like the first movie, we're dark, we're depressing, but we're zany as hell.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect word for it, zany. That's exactly what I felt like when I watched this trailer. It does feel very much off the wall. They've got a lot more sort of side characters in here that they're utilizing, not just so much the main family that we saw like in the first one, but really a heavy reliance on really interesting characters that they've designed from a practical sort of perspective. I think if anything, that's really what I enjoyed out of this trailer, was just seeing like the attention, the detail in regards to all the characters that they're truly trying to bring to life in here. And it definitely looks fun and zany, as you mentioned it, with a hint of horror for sure. So I'm kind of curious to see what the balance is going to be. Michael Keaton's been talking really highly about this film, in regards to why he came back in the first place. So look, if Michael Keaton was a fan of the script, there's got to be some goodness in here. And so again, I don't know how to feel about the official trailer itself. I've watched it like 2 or 3 times, and a part of me is just like, okay, let's see what the end result is going to be. So we'll see come September. But if you guys had the opportunity to check out Beetlejuice 2's official trailer, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
I do love the makeup with Michael Keaton, because the makeup that they used in the original movie kind of like made him look like older than he actually was, and now in this in the remake, it almost feels like he matches the age of the original Beetlejuice. So it's like I think the makeup just looks perfect on him.
Yeah, you can definitely tell he's definitely a much more aged Beetlejuice in here.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't phone it in like he did in the Flash.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he is. I think he looks pretty committed. So we'll see how it turns out. But guys, that will do it for our honorable mention segment. So Stuart, you ready to get into these main topics with me, man?
Always.
Let's do it, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into our first topic of the day. As Marvel Studios CEO, head honcho himself, Kevin Feige, is back in the news here this week. As we mentioned at the top of the show, he is certainly doing his rounds in regards to interviews, prepping everybody for the Hall H panel that we're going to be getting at San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, he's talking Deadpool and Wolverine. He's talking mutants. He's talking a bunch of things here. So I I thought it would be interesting. We actually pulled 3 different articles here of Kevin Feige discussing the future of Marvel Studios. We want to go ahead and talk with you guys about some of this stuff and just bounce some ideas off of each other here, Stuart. The first one really being that when it comes to Deadpool and Wolverine, um, um, Kevin Feige lets us know that not only does he have plans for they're going to be doing 2 panels at San Diego Comic-Con. I believe the first one's going to be on Thursday or Friday to celebrate literally and Wolverine um the Deadpool and Wolverine movie release as it drops that same weekend at San Diego Comic-Con. So there's going to be a lot of buzz in San Diego that weekend for sure. But they asked him several questions here, and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go through what he's saying. So he says, "Can you share with us any plans for Hall H?" He says, "I think people know we're going to be doing our panel on Saturday, but I don't think people know that there's also going to be a one in Hall H on Thursday for the first time ever. Marvel's going to be doing Hall H twice. Thursday, of course, is the opening of Deadpool and Wolverine, so we're going to be doing a fun Deadpool panel." With Sean Levy, Hugh Jackman, and Ryan Reynolds are going to be there. So it's going to be the 4 of them there in attendance. So that alone should be like one of the highlights of San Diego Comic-Con.
I wonder if they're going to be allowed to talk about the movie specifically, because if they do it on Thursday, there's a good chance some people in the audience may have already seen the movie. So I wonder if they're going to try to keep it like a spoiler-free panel for that day.
That's a good question. They probably should leave it as a spoiler-free. Is this the beginning of an edgier era of the MCU? He says, "I think we've done edgy in the past, but my favorite thing is that we span all types of genres and tones. I think it gets a lot of attention that this is our first rated R film, but it is the 3rd rated R Deadpool movie, so we wanted to stay true to what Ryan had built over the last couple of movies." He says, "Yes, it's rated R. Yes, there's some language and blood, but the film is incredibly emotional. I keep calling it the most wholesome R-rated film that anybody can ever see. It really is a celebration of friendship and family and of found family. I don't want to overdo it, but for all the R-rated franchises that gets it, for all the rated R raunchiness that gets attention, when people see the movie, it's going to be about how heartfelt it is, in my opinion, much more than the first 2 Deadpool films. That's what I'm really excited about. Once again, once people get past the F words and the R rating, to see how sweet it is." And go ahead, Stuart.
Oh, I was going to say that's perfect, because that's exactly what I loved about the first 2, Deadpool movies. The first one was like a really sweet romance when you kind of like take away all the raunchiness out of it. And then the second one is like kind of a sweet movie where he's learning to become kind of a father figure to someone and learning about like never giving up on him. Like these movies, like both of them are really raunchy, of course, but they both have like a lot of heart, that lifts the stories themselves are lifted with a lot of heart.
Yeah, and I think they definitely have hinted at that in the trailers too. As much as we talk about some of the action pieces, and it's so cool to see Hugh Jackman in the yellow and blue suit, there are definitely undertones in this trailer of a family and loss, and clearly these 2 have something to certainly fight for when you realize the idea of like their worlds possibly being taken away from them and the people that they love being taken away from them, and just hearing some of the things that Deadpool has said to Wolverine to try and uplift them, right? Like, you're the X-Man sort of thing, right? Like, so I definitely do think it's going to be heavy-handed on the emotional side, and I'm that's just really what I'm here for, honestly. Like, outside of the raunchiness and then rated R, I think there's an incredible heartfelt story in here, and I think that's really what's going to put this movie over the top. He says there's a lot of news about how big Deadpool and Wolverine is going to open. This clearly is a renaissance of superhero movies of late. What's needed to keep this fever up? I ask this in general of superhero movies. What's needed to keep moviegoers re-engaged and back on a high point? He says, "I've never been a big believer in superhero being being a genre in and of itself. We've made films that are based in graphic narrative format originally, but we make different types of movies. And I think the answer to that question is the same answer to movies in general, making engaging entertainment films that have to be experienced in the theater with the crowd and is worth people getting into their cars and making the trip. Of the many forms of entertainment that people can get scrolling on the screen in their pocket, we as Hollywood industry need to make product that stands above all of that and that represents a destination entertainment that you can't get anywhere else. People have been going to movies this summer with Inside and Out 2, And that is unbelievably exciting for us, as it reminds people what a joy that can be to going to theaters. And people seem very excited to see Deadpool and Wolverine on screen. I think the experience that it's going to give people, and hopefully encourage people to go see it again and again, that's our job. That's our job at Marvel. It's our job as the 100-year old Hollywood industry to remind people we have the best storytellers and can provide the best entertainment in the world. So yeah, I definitely do think people are gonna get into their seats for this one, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of people kind of go back to the theater finally. Cause yeah, some movies have really been hitting, you know. It's a really weird place the box office is these days, when movies that you think should be knocking out of the park box office aren't necessarily doing too well. And then we got some movies that are really impressing. Inside Out 2, which I guess shouldn't have been a surprise, but is definitely building off of the great first run that it had from its first film. And even like Twisters, I think, is doing a pretty good job at the box office right now as well. So
It's definitely selling a lot at our theater for sure.
yeah, I've heard some pretty good things about Twisters in general. So yeah, man, you got to give people a reason to see some of these films on the big screen. um I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Can you tell us more about Marvel's plan at San Diego Comic-Con? I understand there's a new booth, but also can you speak about the confab's importance to motion pictures studios? He says that for Marvel, it's important on all aspects. It's important for publishing and for the roots of everything we do. And you're right. We have a whole brand new booth this year that we spent a long time designing and trying to make as impressive as possible and diverse as possible with the amount of events going on in that booth. The entirety of Comic Con started in the comics, and I love seeing the amount of stuff that our editor on the publishing side is doing each and every year. On the movie side, which I'm emotionally, of course, connected to, that's where everything started for us. I remember showing clips of X2 for the first time before Hall H even existed, and Sam Raimi with Spider-Man's 1 through 3. He says we build movie schedules oftentimes. The Obviously the pandemic and the strike that threw a wrench into it for a few years, but what we're able to do this time is to get back to literally designing our film schedules around what we would have ready to show at Comic-Con, to announce and set the expectation and a tonality of what's to come over the next couple of years. And that starts in Hall H. That's interesting to me, Stuart, that he says we're literally designing our movie schedules around what we would have ready to show at Comic-Con. So it definitely goes to show you the importance of what, like, even though they have their own D23 to be able to do whatever they want to, you can clearly tell that when it comes to San Diego Comic-Con, it really has a soft place in Kevin Feige's heart, to the point where he literally designs his film schedules around the idea of presenting things to the fans at Comic-Con. I think he really values putting his stuff out there and understands the importance of getting the fan base hyped for his events.
I wonder if that was James Gunn's inspiration for the way he's currently doing DC, because he seems to be having a complete different approach when it comes to scheduling movies. Like, he has movies scheduled, but essentially, like, when it comes to like because it doesn't seem to be around Comic-Con. It seems to be more around, like, once movies get scheduled, nothing gets like greenlit until the scripts are done. Nothing gets like, no casting gets done until the scripts are ready to go and they're confident in it. So I wonder if it's like James Gunn kind of learning from some of the, I don't know if mistakes is the wrong word, but like learning from some of the things that Kevin Feige did that he wasn't a fan of. If that's like one of the things that James Gunn has taken away of, okay, Kevin Feige did this right, and this right. Scheduling wise, maybe I'm going to tweak that and go with my own idea.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't surprise me if he's picked up a thing or two to learn from Kevin Feige. But I also think James Gunn understands the importance of these films have to hit, you know. And so like all his attention is probably like, I gotta make this the best possible set of films and television series as I can right now. And then maybe once I get my first couple of films under my belt and we've got some momentum, maybe then he'll kind of take a step back and start, redirecting things around Comic-Con a little bit more to kind of celebrate with the fans. But right now it feels very much like he's like, I gotta stay focused, put my blinders on right now and just create. But who knows? I don't know. Is DC gonna have a presence at San Diego Comic-Con? Do you know?
Not this year. Hopefully next year for I'm assuming because Superman's gonna be coming out July, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I expect them
So
to have
I
a
would
huge present next
assume,
year.
yeah, next year, definitely.
So we'll see, man. Maybe, maybe if we're lucky, even if James Gunn isn't at San Diego Comic-Con, we have seen people release things anyway, just because it's a huge weekend to kind of celebrate. So it would not surprise me if James Gunn, regardless of being out filming for Superman, releases some information this weekend. Can I get some casting announcements for Green Lantern? That would be great.
Yeah, the only DC panel I expect is there's probably going to be one for Superman and Lois, just because that'll probably be where they premiere the actual full trailer for season 4.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a DC television thing. Maybe we'll get some Creature Commandos first look stuff
Ooh,
too.
that would be
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, I don't know how big of a presence. But yeah, you're right. Superman and Lois will be there. Marceline says, I would say that James Gunn is learning from DC's past mistakes more than Kevin Feige, because these who for the longest time had a thing of announcing projects before casting as Chris for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, Marcelina, for sure. Kevin Feige also talked a little bit about X-Men, baby, and teased us in regards to, believe it or not, a Spider-Man 4 update. We got some Kevin Feige discussing X-Men stuff for you guys, which is pretty eye-opening if you ask me, Stuart. But let's go ahead and get into this first article. This one comes to us from Gizmodo.com. Kevin Feige teases the X-Men MCU team and Spider-Man 4 update. Let's get the Spider-Man 4 update out of the way. Where'd it go? Yeah, IO9 asked Marvel Studios president what's up with the X-Men, as well as the next Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. For Spider-Man 4, he says, Amy and I are working on it. We have writers who are going to deliver us a draft relatively soon. So he doesn't say if it's like the first draft, second draft, final draft, but I would assume it's probably still going to be a while before they actually get in front of the cameras with a comment like this. It seems like they pretty much want to land this script first before they make any kind of big announcements, and I have no idea how far along this is. I thought they were trying to aim for being in front of cameras in production by like the end of this year, or maybe like late fall, early winter of this year. But by the sounds of this, Stuart, it feels like that certainly may not be the case if they're still waiting for a draft to kind of come through.
And it's because of this that I kind of, even though there's no real evidence, like no one from either studio has said anything, I tend to believe the rumors about Sony and Disney disagreeing on what direction to take Spider-Man 4,
Mm,
just because like of how long it's been taken for another script to come
true.
out.
True. You're probably onto something there. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Hopefully they figure it out. Another multiverse ground level movie, maybe a little bit of both. Miles Morales, anybody? I mean, who knows? I mean, they're probably jumping around a bunch of ideas.
Mhm.
They also say how Marvel is deciding which mutants will make up the team when they make their inevitable debut in the MCU. And this was interesting. He says, well, it's the phrase we use often at Marvel, which is it's an embarrassment of riches. And there are a lot of great X-Men characters in Deadpool and Wolverine. There are a lot of great X-Men characters in all of the Fox versions of the X-Men films. And there are a lot of great X-Men characters that have never gone on the big screen. So I think we'll always try to, I think as we always try to do, is we do when we make the arrangement with Sony for Spider-Man, you'll probably see a mix of characters you've seen before and characters you've never seen before. I think the success of X-Men 97 was really exciting for us to see people revisit and reconnect with that world. And dare I say, the soap opera elements of that world, which is one of the things that's so exciting to us about jumping into it finally in the MCU. So clearly, we're definitely going to be getting ourselves holding on to those soap opera elements. So I am excited to see that they're definitely going to be tackling a lot of those societal viewpoints, along with just their interpersonal struggles as characters and teammates with each other. So we're definitely going to get some of that juicy content for sure, and the drama that certainly ensues with this team. But it does make me kind of curious as to, yes, they do have an embarrassment of riches here, Stuart. Like, if you're Kevin Feige, I have no idea who his lineup or his team is certainly even going to be, or what it's going to look like, or how big his team is. I am kind of curious to know your guys' thoughts if you're watching us live and in the comments. If you had to put together an MCU X-Men team to kind of introduce us to, like, the team going out on the mission, which characters would you have on board with your team that's going to be popping up in the MCU? Stuart, do you have any names that kind of come to mind that you personally would like to see as a part of this team right off the bat?
Ah, man, I'm gonna be totally honest. I would probably play it safe and go with the kind of traditional X-Men lineup that we get, from the X-Men original X-Men '97 series.
Okay.
So that would probably be my lineup for the most part, just for starting the movie. And then I would introduce like other mutants as it was going on through like other, not just through other X-Men movies, but also through other like spin-offs, whether it be like X-Force or New Mutants and things like that. That's where I would start introducing other mutants into the MCU. But yeah, like he says, when you bring in the mutants into the MCU, you got so many, like a huge variety of different characters to choose from. It's definitely going to be a tough decision.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a tough decision because right off the bat, I'm just thinking, man, you gotta have Cyclops, you gotta have Jean, you gotta have Wolverine, you gotta have Storm, right? So that's four right there. We saw Beast in the Marvels, so that's five. Maybe Gambit, maybe Rogue, that's seven. Dare I even put like Nightcrawler in there as eight? And I feel like that's a huge team already. And I'm sure some people were probably like, well, where's Colossus? Where is right? Like, where's Angel? I mean, there's just so many characters that they have to play with. That would be my main team, a team of 7 or 8 in here. I don't know if that's way too much, but I almost feel like I literally just said the whole X-Men 97 crew, not even really realizing it. But yeah, I feel like those are almost like mainstays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would definitely. I'm not sure what the legal rights are for it, but I assume if they're allowed to use Deadpool, they're allowed to use characters from that movie in the MCU. So I would go with the Deadpool version of Colossus for my X-Men lineup.
Ah, and I actually probably wouldn't even go with Logan as my Wolverine. I'm still look if you're gonna, I still want Daphne Keene as my X-23 in this version of the X-Men. I don't know if we're gonna get that because my thing is, can you logically replace Hugh Jackman with when it comes to Wolverine? I just think Daphne Keene is one of the better names that I think people will easily accept in this sense. Instead of trying to recast the Logan, I say you just give us another Wolverine.
Hmm.
But who knows, man? Who knows? Sarav, what's up, Sarav? Appreciate you certainly coming through. He says,
Oh,
do you think Channing Tatum will play Gambit in the MCU? Hey, man, I don't know. How do you feel about that, Stu? He
I
almost did.
I would be curious to see if he's still interested. Because I'm not opposed to that. I've seen him in some roles where he does a really good job, and I think he could pull off a Gambit pretty well. The only issue, and I hope this doesn't make me come off as ageist, but yeah, he is getting a bit old for the role. But if he's still down to play it, I'm down to watch him. Yeah.
I think I've definitely softened on Channing Tatum as Gambit. I think I was kind of opposed to it at first, but I think it might be growing on me. But I'm sure they have some other options out there if they wanted to.
Was that the guy that played him in X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, okay.
Um, Sam, what's up, Sam? He says Spike and Iceman in X-Men 97 season 2. Iceman would be interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to an Iceman either.
I always think of the line from X-Men 2. Have you tried not being a mutant?
Yeah, that's a classic line, man. Like, damn, mom. Okay. It almost reminded me of Roberto Costa's mom in X-Men 97
Yes.
too, right?
It's like, I've known you're a mutant this whole time. And you think it's about to be a sweet moment. She's just like, but you got to make sure you hide it from the public.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of. And then last but not least, we got Kevin Feige talking more X-Men for you guys as he gives us a pretty interesting glimpse in regards to what the future of the MCU may certainly look like. This is from the playlist.net. It says Kevin Feige, of course, all Marvel films won't be rated R, and says the mutant era comes next. So we're currently in the mutant, the multiverse saga. I am kind of curious if that means the next set of things is going to be the Mutant saga. So we'll see how that comes across. I'm trying to see where it looks like they got. So okay, says okay, no spoilers, but we've seen the first 40 minutes of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's probably safe to say, given many reactions already out there on social media so far, it's promising, entertaining, funny, gory, violent, and hyper irreverent. All the things you expected and likely wanted from a Deadpool movie. Plus, it includes some teases about how the movie will tap into some new emotional avenues because, as you've already seen in the trailers, both characters are in a darker place. Yeah, I've been hearing some great things about people that have seen the first few minutes of this movie for sure. Let's see here. Also, Kevin Feige talks a little bit more. How long is this article? Okay, it's not super long, so let's go ahead and dive into this one. He says, every Marvel film is important, and there's nothing better than a great movie for a cinematic universe. The before and after aspects of it all. I think a lot of people talk about the R rating, and is every Marvel going to be R rated after this? Of course not. But I hope every movie after this embraces its tonality the way that Deadpool and Wolverine and the way that this team does. Does this mean another Marvel movie strongly suggested to have an R rating like Blade will shy away from this rating? As of now, it's unclear. However, Reynolds also chimed in about this first in Marvel history. He says the R rating is never exploited. It's never really used just to use it. It's just there as a facility to tell the most authentic story about these two iconic characters coming together on the big screen for the first time. In the second part of his answer, Feige addressed the X-Men finally be allowed into the MCU and suggests that the Mutant saga won't necessarily have to wait until the multiverse saga, which ends with Avengers Secret Wars, is complete to begin. He says also, the after is clearly, now that we have the characters from the X-Men world, the mutants we haven't had access to before. So this is the beginning of that. Every movie post Deadpool and Wolverine will be the mutant era coming into the MCU. That's big words. This is the beginning of that, and every movie post Deadpool and Wolverine will be the mutant era coming into the MCU. What do you take away from that, Stuart?
I'm curious if he means that in a literal way, because we are dealing with the multiverse. So I'm wondering if characters literally from other like universes get sucked into the MCU, because we do see that shot like of Deadpool Wolverine jumping into a portal, and we know that there's going to be a new Fantastic Four movie that looks to not be taking place in the MCU, and I'm wondering if that's how it starts, but it ends with them again flying into a portal and then ending up in the MCU.
In MCU. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess, when I think of when he says every movie going forward post Deadpool and Wolverine will be the mutant era coming into the MCU, it does make me wonder about movies like Thunderbolts, like Captain America. Like, are there elements of mutant kind in those movies also? Is it a case like those movies take place before the events of Deadpool and Wolverine, and so like whatever movies Deadpool and Wolverine actually lead into timeline wise, like maybe those will then be Marvel or mutant era focused. I'm kind of curious as to what he means by that, like, or if there's just hints of things. I mean, if you talk about Fantastic Four, I think Franklin Richards is a mutant. Am I not? Am I mistaken? I can't remember if Franklin Richards is a mutant in the comic books or not. But something tells me that he is a little bit. Maybe I'm tripping though.
Yeah, I think so, because he was born with the powers. Yeah.
So let me know in the comments, guys, if Franklin Richards is. So I mean, maybe there is some level of it, but I do find it fascinating when he says things like this, Stuart. I don't know why there's a part of me that like I wonder if after we get the events of Avengers Secret Wars, in the comic books, the events that happen in their Secret Wars, at least the Jonathan Hickman run, it ends up sort of creating a brand new, pretty much a brand new world, where you've got the whole entire world and countries divided, and you've got people that own certain pieces of territory, right? Like Mr. Sinister may have like a half a portion of the United States. The Maestro, the Incredible Hulk alternative character, maybe he's got like the eastern border of the United States, and Doomsday's got a portion of the world, sort of thing, right? Like there's a part of me that wonders if, and this is me as just as a comic book geek fan, one of the things I've always wanted to see kind of come brought to life is the Age of Apocalypse storyline. And there's always a part of me that wonders if maybe something like the Avengers Secret Wars movie ends in such a climactic way where literally the world changes around us and we've altered sort of our universe in some way. And so maybe then, instead of the Avengers kind of being the focus, then maybe the MCU turns its head and starts focusing more on the X-Men side of things and really makes that sort of like the big franchise kind of going forward. And I think a really cool way to dive into something like that would be like a Age of Apocalypse kind of storyline. But I don't know if they would go so bold to try and pull something off like that. But it does make me curious as to how they will balance out the Avengers versus utilizing the mutants when it comes to the MCU going forward.
My prediction is Secret Wars will just be like kind of like you mentioned, a rewriting of the MCU. It'll be their Crisis on Infinite Earths in a way, because I think it's
I
going
think
to
so.
end with a lot of characters still remaining in the MCU, but then new characters being added, such as mutants, and then like any kind of mutant that or any kind of X-Men character where the actor doesn't feel like reprising their role. That'll be their chance to recast
Mhm.
them. And then if they wanted to bring back some of the older characters that had died, but they want to bring back like Iron Man or Captain America. I mean, personally, I hope they don't do this, but because the fans seem to really want to see both Tony Stark and Steve Rogers back in the MCU, they may use that as an excuse to bring those characters back too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel like I've heard rumblings of Robert Downey Jr. being more and more open to the idea of returning for something like that. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. But look, guys, if this truly is the mutant era, how would you guys like to see Marvel Studios handle things kind of going forward? Marcelino did make a comment in here. Um, Says this means that the Avengers will take a back seat in the mutant era. It may suck, but it's great that the X-Men is getting back in the spotlight. It's crazy that the Avengers started out as a backup team in the comics, but the MCU made the biggest team in Marvel, and the MCU is going back to its origin comic book roots. So yeah, I will be kind of curious to see how they juggle the idea of like Marvel characters, especially from the Avengers, along with the X-Men characters, and if they can really stand side by side, or if one group of those characters is really gonna kind of fall to the wayside a little bit. I mean, who knows? Maybe we get like Miss Marvel. Maybe she eventually becomes like an X-Men in this, and she is considered a mutant as well. Like maybe this is really going to be a very vastly different X-Men team than maybe some of us are expecting.
And maybe we get Civil War 2, but this time it's here, or it's like superheroes versus mutants.
Oh yeah. Sam also says Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom in the MCU. That's a rumor. Yeah, I have heard that rumor. We haven't really announced it. I feel like I try and take some of these rumors with a grain of salt, but we'll see. We'll see what winds up happening here. But big things, Stuart, are definitely happening in the world of X-Men kind of going forward. And it's really cool for me to just see Kevin Feige opening up and talking about it just a little bit more. Like, like the pages are turning for sure. And they got some really, really big plans. So I hope they stick their landing in here. Hopefully San Diego Comic-Con is going to have some really great reveals and hopefully give us, I still believe, Stuart, that come San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to get ourselves a new timeline.
Mhm.
Um, I hope that he not only showcases us the television shows, the release windows, all the way up to Secret Wars, but maybe even teasing us as to what like potentially might come after. Two things. One, I want to see just the first movie after Secret Wars announced to see idea of like where they want to go. And then two, if this is really going to be the mutant era, I wonder if on the timeline, if they're going to refer to it as sort of like the mutant saga beginning here and how the mutant saga impacts possibly some of these upcoming movies and television series, if at all. So I don't know. It feels very promising. Like San Diego Comic Con could be a really, really big day for Marvel for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you guys think about Kevin Feige talking openly about the X-Men in the MCU in this brand new mutant era that we're about to get into? What do you think that means for the MCU and these characters? Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. All right, and I think with that out of the way, speaking of Avengers, Stuart, look, man, I got to admit, I was pretty high on the idea that when it comes to Avengers, after all the publicity and after all of the high praise for director Sean Levy that he had recently been getting in regards to his work for Deadpool and Wolverine, I for sure thought that it was a shoo-in for this man to go ahead and direct at least one of these upcoming Avengers films. But this week, the Hollywood Reporter gave us an exclusive report that some very familiar faces that were once sort of the kings of the MCU in regards to everything they touched kind of almost turned to gold. They had that Midas touch for the first couple of phases at Marvel, are in fact returning. Stuart, believe it or not, the Hollywood Reporter is letting us know the Russo brothers are planning on returning, not just for Avengers 5, but Avengers 6. And it makes you wonder, Stuart, can they strike gold once again? Let's go ahead and dive into this, man. I was not expecting this, but considering the fact that they already succeeded once, I guess it shouldn't be too much of a shocker that Marvel Studios would want to go back to the well and see if they can certainly do it again. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. It says, Marvel shocker, Russo bros in talks to direct next 2 Avengers movies. This is an exclusive. It says Joe and Anthony Russo are assembling a team once again. The Russo bros are in early talks to return to Marvel Studios to direct not just one, but the next 2 Avengers movies, sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. The hiring ends a month-long high-stakes search by the studios for filmmakers to oversee the 5th and 6th movies. Multiple names were in contention, including director Sean Levy, who was offered the gig. Sources say the talks are in the early stages. So it looks like they have landed on the Russo brothers. They are in talks and having negotiations. Clearly, if this is in the early stages, things could go right, things could go wrong, and they might end up bowing out. But it seems the Hollywood Reporter is pretty confident that these 2 men are, in fact, the short list and the choices for Marvel Studios. So I definitely expect them to ink their name on the dotted line, but we'll see how it comes together. The move also marks a homecoming for the Russos, who jumped from the world of TV comedy, which is true. And I think this is probably why Marvel is so keen on trying to find these gems for people that have worked on TV to come and do these big blockbuster films. In total, they directed 4 of the Marvel's biggest and best regarded movies: Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, and Winter Soldier as well. Combined, their Marvel movies grossed $6.6 billion. My God. In the years since, they have become mega producers. So they've done a couple Amazon things on Netflix as well. As directors, after becoming box office kings at Marvel, they stuck to streaming titles that did not reach the critical and cultural heights of their Marvel work. Unfortunately, they directed the Tom Holland crime drama Cherry back in 2021, along with the Gray Man in 2022 at Netflix, and they also did direct the upcoming sci-fi adventure The Electric State from Netflix as well. Trying to see what else that it says here. So yeah, that's pretty much all the article certainly talks about. Avengers 5 is set for May 1st of 2026, and Secret Wars is set for May 7th, 2027. So Stuart, let's talk about this, man. The Russo brothers are in fact back. Is this a big win for Marvel Studios? Are you hyped to see them back? Is this a surprise even for you? I definitely want to know your thoughts on the Russo brothers returning.
It's definitely a surprise, but it makes a lot of sense. I think this is a big win for both the Russo brothers and for Marvel. I think that the Russo brothers have definitely been trying to direct their own movies after after leaving from Endgame, and it doesn't look like it's been working out as well as they'd hoped. Because from what even though I thought Cherry was an okay movie, I thought it was all right. Didn't think it was great, but it definitely didn't get the best reviews critically. And then same with the Gray Man. And then looking at like kind of what they've been doing since then, it seems like they've been having more success as producers, producing the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, than they have as directors. So I think going back to what they know, going back to what really got them their start in directing action movies. I think it's definitely a very safe bet for both sides. And it also helps get people hyped because everyone loved Infinity War and Endgame. So bringing back those two directors to come into Avengers 5 and 6, yeah, I think it's a great way to really hype up the MCU fans. And and plus you're getting people that are really familiar with working with a huge cast of characters. They know how to work with multiple people, which I imagine isn't easy to do as a director, and also make it so it's like no character outshines the other character. That's also a really tough balance to go off of. So if anyone can do it, I think it's these two, and I look forward to seeing what they bring.
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what changes occur here. This is definitely a completely different MCU that the Russo brothers have kind of left behind and kind of walked into now. And it's going to be interesting to see how they work alongside some of these brand new characters for me. I know. I believe some of them, I think it was Anthony Russo, or at least one of the Russo brothers, might have had a hand in like the screenplay for some of the Avenger films that we had recently gotten. So they are comfortable being not only behind the camera, but also from a writing standpoint. And look, I really don't fault Marvel Studios for certainly giving this one another opportunity or shot. Marcelino does say at one point Kevin Feige was offered Noah Hawley, who made Legion, and Greg Berlanti to direct the Avengers movie instead, but I think he declined them. So I am glad that it wasn't the idea of just Kevin Feige thinking to myself, like, you know what, we need to bring these guys back. I think the fact that they tried to bring in other directors, or that there were a potential short list of other directors in here, whether that be Sean Levy, Noah Hawley, like Marcelino kind of referenced in here. So I don't know if it's the idea, like they had a particular pitch for how they wanted to do the Avengers films that sort of won Kevin Feige over or not. Or maybe like you mentioned, Stuart, the idea that there is a name recognition with the Russo brothers. And after the huge success of Infinity War, along with Endgame, the idea of hearing the Russo brothers are certainly coming back. I think from a fan perspective, it's gotta like cause some level of excitement, in the sense of like, man, finally Marvel Studios is making the right calls, or they knew what worked before, so this is what they're kind of going with, instead of bringing in somebody brand new. I don't want to say that's untested, but while I definitely did believe Sean Levy was certainly going to get the job after Deadpool and Wolverine, you look at Noah Hawley. Yes, he did Legion, but has he done a really big blockbuster sort of movie? And I do think it's important too, when you are juggling sort of an ensemble cast, and like you mentioned, right, like you have to know who to give the attention to, how to balance out characters in regards to screen time, how to tell large stories very cohesively while juggling an ensemble cast. And the fact that the Russo brothers have done this time and time and time again shows that, at least when it comes to these big Avengers films and sort of like these crossover event type things, you definitely need people with that level of experience. And so while I personally would have loved to have seen a fresh take from somebody like a Greg Berlanti or Noah Hawley or even a Sean Levy, to me, this certainly makes sense. And I think this was probably a safer choice for Marvel, as you mentioned, in a sense of like, hey, these guys have done it once before. we have faith that they can certainly do it again. Does that mean that they're going to be the writers for this film? For the next two films, that I certainly don't know. I don't know if we've had an announcement as to who the writers are going to be yet, but at least from a directorial standpoint, from putting together sort of a finished film, I am at least glad that we have somebody that's got that expertise and experience in doing something like that. But again, the film will always come down to what the script is certainly going to be. The Russo brothers, I think, will certainly take the brunt of if this movie does well or not, but I do think it'll certainly come down to its script at the end of the day. So hugely surprised. But I guess I shouldn't be. I just honestly thought that their time was done. But Marvel Studios like, hey, you're part of the family. We're bringing you back in, man.
Mm-hmm. We have your family hostage if you don't come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Marcelino said something else. Since not every hero will be in the Avengers movies, I think they should make a Midnight Suns and Young Avengers movie. It's what we've been asking for. Yeah, I don't know what Avengers 5 is going to turn out to be. I still think Avengers 5, if we are going to get a Younger Avengers film, that's probably going to be the movie.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, is that Avengers 5 would be kind of Young Avengers and be focusing mostly on the newer characters introduced through phase 4 and 5. And then Avengers 6 would be the one where it pretty much it's like a little mixture of the two. I'm not saying featuring every single character that's been introduced so far, but that would be the one that would have like a good mixture of the characters that we've been introduced to, along with characters that have been around since phase 1.
I guess my only concern would just be, you did mention some of their past work outside of Marvel, and it didn't necessarily work out the best for them. While I don't think I finished watching The Gray Man, I don't think it got the best critical reception. Although my uncle, and I usually trust my uncle's opinion when it comes to films, he really was a big fan of The Gray Man. So there is a part of me that feels like it should be a little bit concerned the fact that, like, after Endgame, they've kind of fallen off in regards to storytelling and maybe directing standpoint. But maybe this is just their wheelhouse, and they'll come back to like prime form, getting to work with Marvel Studios again, and sort of like their understanding of that particular world. Does that concern you at all, or how do you feel about that?
No, I think the Gray Man and Cherry both kind of, I don't know if flopped is the right word to use, but I think the reason they didn't get the highest critical praise and why they weren't like the most polished movies was just because they were trying something new, and they just they were basically trying to challenge themselves, and it just didn't work out the way they hoped. It happens. Sometimes you try something new to see if you can do it, and it doesn't work out the way you hope, but you learn from those mistakes. And I'm sure that's what's going to happen with Avengers 5 and 6, is that they'll learn from the mistakes of Cherry and Gray Man, hopefully. or maybe they'll just make the same mistakes. Who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see on that in that front.
Did they write those films?
I think so. Let me double check, actually.
Because it is important to point out the Avengers films, while they definitely had a hand in the script, they weren't the only ones that were part of the screenplay. I think Christopher Marcus was also a part of the screenplays, and I think they might have had somebody else as well. So I am kind of curious, like from a directing standpoint and getting your vision out there. I do think that the Russo brothers are an incredible pickup for Avengers 5 and 6. I do think writing wise, though, I don't necessarily know if I would want them to be like the sole writers of the Avengers films. I'd rather have somebody else come in that can work with big ensemble casts like that. Maybe have some of the Russo's ideas in there, but for a fully fleshed out script, I hope they have at least another writer or two on board for sure.
Joe Russo was one of the people who wrote the screenplay for The Gray Man, but for the most part, it doesn't look like they do too much in terms of writing for any of their
Right.
film. He's credited as the one who wrote the screenplay, but so are two other people, and it makes me think that maybe he just rewrote it to fit like their vision in terms of directing, kind
Gotcha.
of the same way I think they do with the Avengers movies.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. But look, guys, we want to know your thoughts. Were you expecting a return for the Russo brothers here to the MCU? I think this is a really smart and brilliant pickup on their part. Probably safe, but at this point in time for Marvel Studios, I don't want to say almost a guaranteed lock to make $1 billion film, but just based off of what they've been capable of doing in the past, it certainly probably shouldn't come as a surprise that Marvel Studios would certainly fall back. And I don't know necessarily know if we ever thought that they were maybe fully out of the game. I just don't necessarily know if we knew when or where to expect them to certainly return. But they're back, ladies and gentlemen. The Russo brothers in early talks to return for Avengers 5 and 6 as the directors. So let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, let's turn our eye from the MCU to the DCU. And even though when it comes to James Gunn's DCU, we do know that the next film outside of Superman to go into development will in fact be Supergirl. Now, Supergirl has already been cast to be played by the House of the Dragon star Millie Alcock. But that's not to say that the Supergirl auditions certainly were not tough, as we definitely had ourselves a short list of actresses that made certainly the top 3. And I believe when it comes to the top 2, not only was it Millie Alcock, but it was also the current voice actor for Supergirl from the Crisis on Infinite Earths animated movie, Meg Donnelly. She went to try her take on Supergirl, not just as a voice actor role, but getting in front of the camera as well. And she made it pretty far along in regards to her audition for Supergirl before James Gunn ultimately decided to go ahead and land on somebody like Millie Alcock. And so this week, Meg Donnelly, who auditioned for the role, is opening up a little bit more about what that audition process was certainly like for her, and really just the idea of how tough it might have even have been to get her foot in the door in the first place to get this particular audition. So I actually found this one pretty interesting, Stuart. But let's go ahead and dive into what Meg Donnelly is saying here.
Before we do that, it's cool if I say something real quick.
Go for it.
I am, even though she's not going to be playing Supergirl in live action, I can at least say that she did a hell of a job in Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. Like, she was good in Part 2, don't get me wrong, which was mostly focused around her, but Part 3 was kind of like her having to deal with like a mistake that she made in the previous part. I don't want to like spoil too much. And yeah, it leads to quite the emotional send-off for her character at the very end. And I think, yeah, so even though we're not going to be seeing her in live action, she still has definitely made her she's definitely put her footprint on the Supergirl character for sure.
That's good to know, man. That's good to know. I haven't had the opportunity to check it out, but that alone makes me want to go ahead and watch it for sure. Let's see here. This comes to us from comicbookmovie.com. Meg Donnelly details her Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow audition and future DCU hopes. This is an exclusive report for them. I think even when they announced like what the short list of actors that were certainly there, Meg Donnelly was definitely up there for me. Her and Millie Alcock, I think, were my 2 that I really wouldn't have minded seeing. A little bit of a bummer, but that Meg Donnelly didn't get the role. But I don't think Millie Alcock is any slouch whatsoever. And so I think she's going to bring her A game for sure.
I totally forgot who the third person was, but yeah, it was definitely between 3. I remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the third off the top of my head. Let's see here. Donnelly is no stranger to the hero after voicing her in Warner Brothers Animation's Legion of Superheroes and Crisis on Infinite Earths. So when we caught up with Donnelly to discuss the final chapter of the latter trilogy this week, we asked about her Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow experience. She says, it was something that I really had to fight for to get an audition because I wanted to be a part of it and be Supergirl in any way. That was a dream of mine, to be a superhero on screen as well. So I really fought for the audition, and the fact that I got one and they liked it, and I was then able to go on and screen test. I was able to do stunts and do scenes on camera as Supergirl. She says, that was really all I could ask for. The fact that I was able to do that. I still don't really feel like it was real. So it was just an honor. I think they're going in a different direction, and that's totally great. But everyone there was so nice and incredible. It was surreal how nice they were. As she laughed, she says, it was cool to get so close and hopefully be in the DCU in any way. That would be really cool. It was a great experience. She says, when then wondered whether there are any other DC roles Donnelly now has her eye on. It sounds like she's open to anything that may come her way after her near miss with Supergirl. She says, I think, yeah, it's a case of waiting and seeing who ends up coming into the DC universe and the cinematic universe. I'm definitely keeping an eye out. That because just being a part of James Gunn team in any way was really cool and it felt really great. Hopefully there's a space for that. So honestly, it would then be really cool to play any superhero on screen. There are just so many to certainly choose from.
Power Girl, Supergirl's clone,
Hey,
or the Earth 2 Supergirl, depending on which continuity.
you know, when she talked about playing anybody like that, that's definitely who I like. The first thing that certainly came to mind for me was the idea of of Power Girl. Tony Robinson says James should bring Meg back to play Black Canary. That would be pretty
Ooh,
dope.
okay, I'd be
Yeah,
down.
yeah, I'd be down for that for sure. I look, I really love this insight for two reasons. One, I'm really glad that despite Meg Donnelly not getting cast as the role, I am glad that she got as far along as she certainly did. Because the way that she says that she even got to play sort of Supergirl in the screen testing makes me wonder. Like, I would assume they had her in like a Supergirl outfit. I would assume, if anything, that she probably had the opportunity to kind of wear some type of suit. It may not have been the final product of the suit, but I do wonder if there was a Supergirl suit that she had the opportunity to wear, and maybe even get some opportunities to do some screen testing. Like, I do wonder if she screen tested opposite of somebody like a David Corn Sweat to kind of see how maybe she might fit into a role like Superman or in the future DCU too. So the fact that she got as far along as she did, I think is certainly props to her. And I hope that James Gunn remembers her in future opportunities whenever he's trying to fill in some roles instead of necessarily have her come back to audition for them. Maybe he already has somebody certainly in mind, because I do think that it speaks volumes if you're able to at least make it within the top three, even the top two, to the point of like being screen tested with other people and having it really come down to, you know, being part of the final decision. I think that speaks wonders for Meg Donnelly's talent, especially to go over from voice acting. I don't know what else Meg Donnelly has worked on prior to me finding out about her in the animated DC world and trying out for Supergirl. But clearly, if she's capable of going from the voice acting world here into acting for for Supergirl, she definitely is got to be hopefully looked at for other opportunities, certainly down the road. And then, secondly, Stuart, I do find it interesting that she had to work extremely hard to even
Mhm.
land this audition. I think that's kind of what ruffles my feathers a little bit, in the sense of like, you've been very open about the idea, like, hey, if you're playing these characters in voice acting, then we're just going to bring you over into sort of the live action thing. And I believe, while the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing might have been not under James Gunn's um I don't think that was under James Gunn's tenure to greenlight that, right? So I don't think he had a part in hiring Meg Donnelly to play Supergirl in the animated series. I am kind of surprised that she had to even fight to get an audition. I would think that Gunn would be open to the idea of like, oh, we have somebody that already plays Supergirl. Well, let's at least bring her in for an audition without her even having to ask, right? Like, I felt like that would just almost be kind of a given. But I guess it just goes to show you like the the inner workings of Hollywood behind the scenes. Like, despite the fact that you are recognized as playing this character in animation, even the idea of you trying to go from animation to live action is a tough hill to climb, certainly for anybody. And I don't know, that something about that just kind of ruffled my feathers a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it sucks when, like, because I'm not saying any actor is ever entitled to a role, but I
Right.
feel like every actor, as long as they're doing the right steps, every actor should be at least entitled to an audition, at the very least. And, whether or not they're a small time actor or whether or not they're a voice actor, I think they deserve that same, chance, because you never know what you might be missing out on if you don't give them that chance. And I think it's cool that she got to audition. I think it's awesome that she made the top three. And more than anything, I think it's awesome that she's not like blaming anyone for like why she didn't get the role, just saying that that's just kind of like how it goes. Like you, I am also curious if they had her try on a Supergirl suit just to screen test her, and if they did, I am like 90% sure it was probably the Melissa Benoist costume, because they usually do that.
Ah,
They'll like bring in like older costumes from different movies, and
I don't
so
know
my
why
thought
I
is
was thinking like that. Was it Linda Carter? No, wait, who did the first Supergirl from like the 80s?
oh, I cannot remember her name. But
Something but yeah, I was wondering
I
if maybe
wonder
they
if
used that costume. But you're right, the Melissa
wonder if that
Benoist one would make
costume's
more
even
sense.
around still.
Yeah, I was thinking, because I believe they still do they still use the Christopher Reeves costume when they do their screen testings for Superman? I'm not quite sure, but it would make sense that they use the Melissa Benoist one.
I think with Henry Cavill, if I'm not mistaken, comments definitely let me know if I'm wrong here. But I think they gave him the Superman Returns outfit to screen test in when
Mm,
they were screen testing for Henry Cavill.
okay, gotcha. I'm sorry, and you can go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't? No, no, that was it.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Marcelino does clarify. Amelia Jones was the other finalist. She was disqualified because she wasn't interested in reading the comics for inspiration. I hadn't even heard of that.
That's funny.
That's interesting, man. I can't imagine that's
That's
true though. I mean, if you're in the top three, clearly you've had to have done some level of homework in regards to it. But I don't know. Maybe that was the case. She did state, Meg Donnelly did state that, they clearly wanted to go in another direction. So it does make me curious as to how, um, Millie Alcock auditioned differently. If she really kind of tapped into something that Tom King really wrote in Woman of Tomorrow, and Meg Donnelly maybe taking more of that Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of Supergirl or Legions of Superheroes Supergirl, and tried to bring that to more live action. So I'm kind of curious. I would think if at that point you're really reading the script that they have certainly in mind. So I would think you would probably want to bring a certain type of tone that really fits that script. So I am kind of curious as to like what Millie did differently or what Amelia Jones brought differently.
It also could all come down to they knew that Millie Ellock would have brought in the Game of Thrones fans, and so therefore more wider audience.
Yeah,
I
that's
hope
that's
that
true.
wasn't the reason. That just might have been like the straw, like they may have been like, 50-50, but then there was just that little bit of, you know what, if we choose this person, it might bring in a little more, of the Game of Thrones fans.
Yeah, going back to this thing, she says I was able to do stunts and do scenes on camera as Supergirl. So I
Ooh.
would assume if you are doing the stunts, you got to be in a Supergirl outfit. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure she probably was definitely in a Supergirl outfit, especially she says do scenes on camera as Supergirl. So I mean, man, that's pretty far. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty far. Kudos to Meg Donnelly for having a great audition, despite it not necessarily working out for her. So I'm proud she got as far as she did, and hopefully we see her back once again. Marcelo says Helen Slater was the movie Supergirl. So yeah, the Helen Slater costume. I am kind of curious if that was utilized or the Melissa Benoist one was utilized. I hope Meg Donnelly. I don't know if they had any, if she's able to release any behind the scenes videos, but I would love to see just what that experience looked like for her.
Definitely.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Meg Donnelly opening up about her audition process. Have you learned anything new about the audition process by hearing her talk about it? And again, if you have any ideas as to who you personally would like to see Meg Donnelly play in the DCU going forward, certainly go ahead and let us know. But yeah, I like that. I like that call on on Black Canary from Tony.
Yeah, definitely. And he brings up another good point. They were both already part of the WB family, so yeah, must have
Yeah, makes sense.
also helped.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. With that story out of the way, we will move on to more DCU news. As look, I think we're getting ever so close, Stuart, to seeing a trailer for this. But Creature Commandos is back in the news. That's right, the animated series from the DCU. It's set to go ahead and drop later on this year, if I'm not mistaken. This is really going to be sort of like the appetizer that we get, as this is going to be our very first look into the brand new sort of DCU world that James Gunn is certainly creating for us. We're going to be getting Creature Commandos first, followed by Superman, and then we're going to be getting Peacemaker season 2, which is all going to be timeline chronology wise. So Peacemaker season 2 does come out after Superman. And I would assume after Peacemaker 2 would then be Supergirl, but who certainly knows? But regardless, Creature Commandos is definitely up to bat. And so we had one of the executive producers this past week on the project come out and talk a little bit about this animated series, Stuart. And I actually found this pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and dive into this one, man. This comes to us from The Wrap. It says Creature Commandos executive producer says animated series will be the first expression of James Gunn's universe. It says James Gunn fans may not be surprised by the direction of the upcoming Creature Commandos animated series, but that's not a bad thing if you ask executive producer Dean Leray. He says that's going to be the first expression of James Gunn's DC universe. We're considering that canon, and I think it expresses his perspective tonally on where he wants the universe to go. That's what he wound up telling The Wrap. Lori noted that the Mac show, which follows the government official Amanda Waller as she develops a black ops team of monsters, is nothing new. He says it's Suicide Squad. He's done it. People aren't going to be surprised by what it is, but I think they'll be really encouraged to see how completely it's going to inform this new version of the DCU, which I'm very excited about. He also goes on to tease season 5 of a Harley Quinn. But yeah, that's what he says in regards to Creature Commandos. That, yes, while we've kind of seen him do something like this before in Suicide Squad, people aren't going to be surprised by it, but I think it will really encourage to see how completely it's going to inform this new version of the DCU, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, it looks like this is going to be our very first impression, Stuart, of what he's going to be creating for us. What's your initial thoughts on what he had to say?
Yeah, really excited to kind of get an idea of what kind of world this is going to be. Like, we know that this is a world that's already had superheroes established, but we don't know, what it is that the general people of this world think of superheroes, what superheroes are like to these people. Is it still a spectacle to see one, or is it just kind of like whatever kind of a thing? And then setting the overall tone will be interesting because, like, I'm assuming that this show is probably going to have like a TVMA rating, and especially if they're sticking to something like James Gunn is more familiar with. When he did Suicide Squad, he definitely went for a R rating with that. So it'll be kind of cool to see what in kind of the R rating kind of side of the DC universe, what it's going to look like in terms of like when people are allowed to fully I don't know. It's weird to say this, but I feel like when people are allowed to be more R-rated, when people are allowed to swear a lot more, you get a more honest look at them. And so it's going to be kind of a way to get a more honest look of what these characters are really like in this universe, especially with Rick Flag Sr., who we know we're going to be seeing in both Superman and Peacemaker season 2. And I'm assuming in Superman, it'll be like a PG-13 version of that character. So you won't really get to see like the more honest version that we're probably going to be seeing in both this and Peacemaker. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice to start your universe out with an animated series. But that being said, I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm really excited to kind of see how this turns out. Honestly, first off, I love this animation style. I hope that this really translates well into movement when we actually see it. I gotta think San Diego Comic-Con or some maybe upcoming reveal has got to give us something more, man. Like I really want to see these characters in this animated form just in action. So I am kind of fascinated by it. And I will agree, Stuart. I think when it comes to animation, you can get away with a lot of things that you can't do in live action. And so there is a part of me, especially when we look at things like the Superman set photos, we have a lot of questions about like what this world looks like. People like Hawkgirl and Green Lantern sort of in these corporate outfits, maybe not traditional comic book accurate stuff. Like, I do wonder if this series will kind of point out the different, like, organizations or groups that are out there to maybe give us an idea of like what this world now kind of looks like. Maybe it'll explain to us, you know if Amanda Waller is trying to put together her own team of misfits here in regards to these characters. I wonder if Amanda Waller has got some words to say about what the authority is like, how the government views them, or how she views maybe this group of superheroes that we will eventually get introduced to when it comes to Superman, so that going into a film like Superman, we know who all these organizations and these companies and these groups are, and their purpose in this greater DCU world. So I really look at Creature Commandos sort of as that lore building, for what we're going to be getting, dipping our toe into it and establishing sort of what storylines are kind of already taking place, what things are kind of in movement already, so that not only will Creature Commandos be fleshed out in regards to building the DCU, but when we get into some of these upcoming live action movies, having a better understanding of what this world is that Superman kind of fits into. And so for me, and I've said this before, Stuart, like I'm a fan of world building and lore. And so,
Mhm.
if you can use Creature Commandos in the sense of doing things that you can't necessarily do in live action by establishing, the motives behind our superheroes, the motives behind some of these particular groups, and why the Creature Commandos team is significantly different from them. I definitely want to. I definitely want to dive into that and learn. So I think this is a really great reason for us to definitely tune into Creature Commandos. Honestly.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing too, bring back the photo real quick, because actually,
This one or this one?
yeah. The first, or no, yeah, that one.
Uh-huh.
Because where was it? Oh, here it is. Marcelino said that it kind of reminds of the Hellboy comics, and looking at it, I
Ah,
kind of see it. I didn't touch on my thoughts on the art style, but yeah, looking at it, it's so interesting. If you had shown me this, I would have assumed this comes from a comic book, just because of how expressive everything is. It just doesn't look like something you would normally see in animation. So I'm really curious to see what this is going to look like with movement. I'm like curious and excited, because this is just a really unique style for something animated. I can't think of anything like animated off the top of my head that has this kind of style to it. So it's going to be interesting.
yeah, I think it definitely going to be interesting. Marcelina says a part of a part of me is curious if we will see the origins of the first heroes and the public receptions. Like, say in year 10, we finally are showcased what it was like when the first hero kind of appeared. And look, I can easily see them utilizing Creature Commandos as that opportunity to kind of give us our first inkling as to like how this superhero world was kind of put together. So maybe we do get a little bit of insight in regards to the past of this new DCU, and give us a nice little forward look as to where we're at present day. But yeah, I do think Creature Commandos will probably do a lot of the heavy lifting in regards to establishing kind of that lore. And for me, I'm super excited for this, bro. And I think it's important too when he does mention in here. Um, it says we consider that canon, and I think it expresses Gunn's perspective tonally on where he wants the universe to go. And so again, I do think it's a case of, while not every James Gunn movie is going to feel like a James Gunn movie, right? Like every movie that he's going to be coming out with in the DCU, especially the Chapter 1, they're clearly all going to have their distinct sort of vision and director and writer behind it. But I do think when you're coming out of the gate with Creature Commandos here, this definitely will sort of kind of set the tone as to the world that we're going to be going in, and just I guess the idea of just yeah, I guess just really showcasing what this world is like in the sandbox that people are going to have the opportunity to kind of play in now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to Creature Commandos. Are you excited for this appetizer, as I certainly call it? What would you personally like to see established in the DCU through this particular series? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Is there a release date for Creature Commandos yet?
Actually, let me check real quick. I'm glad that they haven't pushed it back to next year so far, as we know.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely expecting it this year. Oh, it says December 2024.
Oh, December. Okay, cool.
So yeah, holiday.
Still gotta
release.
wait a bit.
Yeah, still gotta wait. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
All right.
And with
that, so if Creature Commandos is the appetizer, Superman is definitely the entree, and I think Peacemaker season 2 is that dessert.
Yeah, nice little trifecta there for sure. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And from that, let's go to the world of television here. We're actually going to be staying in the animated realm of things. And I think we might have talked about this briefly in the past. I don't know if this was ever a main topic of ours or if it's something that came across our honorable mentions here. But Elizabeth Banks had her hopes on putting together an adult animated series focusing on the Flintstones, which is going to go by the name of Bedrock. I grew up as a big Flintstone fan, cartoon fan growing up as a kid. I also remember seeing some of the live action stuff with Rick Moranis and John Goodman, who played.
I don't care what anyone says. I love that movie.
I really did. I was a big fan of the first one. I don't remember if I recall the second one so much, but I do remember the first Flintstones live action film, and I was a huge fan of it. It is definitely a franchise and a product I definitely have always wanted to see them kind of go back to. So the idea of an adult animated series was kind of promising, even though if you ask me personally, Stuart, I really would like to see something live action. But apparently, according to an article that we wind up getting here, it looks like we're not going to be getting that series after all anymore, Stuart. This comes to us from tvline.com. It says, Adult Flintstones sequel Bedrock no longer in development at Fox. So it looks like that's going to be put to rest here. It says the animated series Bedrock is no longer in development at the network, sources tell TV Line, though Fox is open to redeveloping the project at a later date. The new take on the cartoon would have caught up with a modern Stone Age family 20 years later, with Fred on the brink of retirement and 20-something Pebbles embarking on her own career. Elizabeth Banks was set to voice Pebbles and also serve as an executive producer. As the Stone Age gives way to a shiny and enlightened new Bronze Age, the residents of Bedrock would find this evolution harder than a swing from Bam Bam's club, according to the official synopsis. Lindsay Kearns from Superhero Girls penned the project, which first announced back in April of 2021. They did have a couple of people set to do the voice, but it looks like that's not going forward anymore. So yeah, Bedrock is no longer in development, although Fox is open to redeveloping the project at a later date. What are your thoughts on this one, Stuart?
I mean, if Seth MacFarlane wasn't able to get the series picked up, I kind of knew that it wasn't gonna it probably wasn't gonna happen for Elizabeth Banks either. Because back when, and this was during the peak of Family Guy, when Family Guy was like, huge. And keep in mind at this time, Fox literally let him make Family Guy 3 times, because you had Family Guy, American Dad, and the Cleveland Show, which were all just Family Guy basically. So that all being said, even at that time, they didn't let him, go through with his Flintstone show, which would have been basically Family Guy, but Flintstones, which, as someone who gives Seth MacFarlane a lot of crap, although I give him a lot of crap, although I have to say the Orville and Ted, the TV show, not the movies, are freaking amazing. But I actually would have loved to have seen his take on the Flintstones, especially because it would have been, the same style as the original cartoon, but with an adult, edge to it. And it looks like that's exactly what Elizabeth Banks was going for with Bedrock, something I would have loved to have seen. But again, if Seth MacFarlane couldn't get the show picked up, I kind of knew that, at that point, I doubt anyone was going to be able to get the show picked up at that point. It is something I do hope we're able to see at some point in the future, because I think, not saying that the Flintstones can't be a family friendly cartoon, it definitely started out that way, but even when it was family friendly, it always had kind of a edgy vibe to it. I mean, you had quite a bunch of innuendos here and there in the show, and then not to mention they were used hell for marketing cigarettes back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Because they had that commercial, Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. So, I think that the Flintstones is one of those cartoon families that can work in both, family friendly animation and in adult animation. So even though it's not picked up currently, I do hope that at some point the Fox executives will get their heads out of their ass and actually see the potential in a series like this.
Yeah, I definitely do think there's certainly potential in this. I didn't know Seth MacFarlane tried to roll out an animated series for Flintstones, so that is brand new information for me. Look, I will say though, while I know that you would have been eager to see it, I don't know if I personally would have been. I do like Seth MacFarlane's comedy, but I do think that when it comes to Flintstones, it's maybe just slightly different. Not to say that there definitely aren't. I agree with you. Innuendos for sure when it comes to Flintstones always having a little bit of that adult certainly in them. But I am a big fan of Elizabeth Banks, and I do think that this probably would have been a really great sort of script and story for her to kind of further develop. I love the fact that she was aiming to try and play Pebbles in here herself. I think that was a really great casting choice for herself to put her in that role. But even really like the synopsis in here too. The idea of kind of going into from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age, kind of moving things a little bit forward in the timeline. There really is a part of me, Stuart, that thinks that this should be live action. Like I almost want them to, instead of developing this as an animated series, put some money behind it and make it a live action television series. Like when I think of Flintstones, this takes me back to like the 90s of the dinosaur show. Like I don't know why I
Oh
get
my
I don't
gosh,
I don't
yeah.
know why I get those elements. Like I want to see the set pieces. I want to see sort of the car designs, how they create some of the dinosaurs. Maybe they use some levels of CGI in it. Like I do think a Flintstone project, it definitely deserves to be in the works, whether that be animated or live action. But when I read the synopsis for this, and the 20-year jump, there's just something about it that just screams, man, I really want to see this in live action. So I am a little bit bummed that Fox is kind of passing up on this. Maybe this is something like it says that they can redevelop at a later date. I'm certainly not going to hold my breath for that, but I do think that this is a missed opportunity. And I don't know why. I mean, not to say that the Flintstones has proven to be like this huge, mega successful blockbuster of a franchise over the past several years, because I feel like it's been a minute since we've seen anything out of them. But I think a strategic um, mindset on how to tackle something Flintstone oriented, I think could certainly work in today's society a little bit. So I am a little bit bummed that this isn't getting the green light, but I'm a little bit more bummed that this was meant to be animated and not live action. But I do think Elizabeth Banks would have been the perfect person for this job. Honestly, I'm a big fan of the projects that she works on. They may not be like huge hits all the time, but I do like her vision and perspective on some of her projects.
I'll say this. I don't know if this is a hot take because I know it didn't do well in theaters, but I kind of liked her Charlie's Angels movies. Didn't love it, but I liked it. I thought it
Oh,
was fun. But yeah, so no, I think she definitely has what it takes to do a Flintstones series. Yeah, again, I'm kind of with you. Bummed that it didn't happen, but I'm optimistic that it will happen at some point in the future.
Yeah, I hope it does. I hope it does. Sam says Elizabeth Banks brilliant in Hunger Games and Power Rangers reboot in 2017. Yeah, I thought she did a pretty good job as Rita.
Yeah.
Blossom says weren't Pebbles and Bam Bam already grown up? I remember seeing the moments when they got married and had kids. If they ever animated them again, I hope we see their kids, Chip and Roxy. Though I can't remember. Did we have we seen them adult form? Something tells me we have. Was that in the sequel for the Flintstones movie?
I don't think it was in the Flintstones movie. I think it was like probably an animated movie. Was it in because immediately after the Flintstones crossover with the Jetsons, maybe it was like in the epilogue of that movie? I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe. Marceline says adult Flintstones. Hopefully, it would pan out better than the Max Adult animated. That's also part of the big franchise. That's only in name alone. That animated show that shall not be named. I don't know.
Oh, I know which one. Okay, you're talking about Velma.
Oh, the
'Cause,
Velma show.
yeah.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, because yeah, that one's really bad. I did try to watch it, and yeah, it's like it sucks because like I know this is gonna be a really hot take. Also, I do think that an adult animated Scooby Doo show could work. But yeah, that was just not the direction a series like that needed to go. It just
Well, they are doing a
didn't work
live
out.
action. They are doing a live action Scooby Doo series.
Yeah,
They-
that I've heard about. That I'm intrigued by because again, I think Scooby Doo has had like a very consistent tone throughout, and every now and then they try to branch out. But I kind of want to see a little bit more. And the thing I will disagree with a lot of Velma haters out there, and this is coming from someone who hates that show. Keep in mind because I did not like it at all. But anyone tries to say that that show ruined Scooby Doo, it's like no, Scooby Doo's legacy is still there, and it'll still continue after this show. This isn't like it's suddenly like every Scooby-Doo is going to turn into Velma. No, we're still going to get the classic Scooby-Doo line. Like they still make straight to DVD Scooby-Doo movies like every year. Some of them hit, some of them miss. And yeah, so I disagree with people who try to say that this show destroys Scooby-Doo. It doesn't. It's its own thing. It's terrible. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Do what I do. Don't watch past the first two episodes.
This, now that we brought up the idea of Scooby Doo having a live action series, there is a part of me here that is hopeful that if that is successful, that maybe they do revisit this idea. Like, there's part of me that's thinking to myself, like, maybe they didn't necessarily cancel or drop the ball on Bedrock in the sense of like, we don't think that it's good enough, but maybe they had ideas too in the sense of like, could we do something like this in live action? Let's not pull the
Ooh.
trigger yet. Let's see how Scooby Doo does live action on something like Netflix, and if there's an appetite for it based off of just how old that franchise is too. If they could do something like that in live action as a series, maybe this is something that we could revisit this, but take these scripts and turn them into live action at some point in time. Again, I don't know if that's what the Fox executives are thinking, but thinking now that a Scooby-Doo live action series has been announced, maybe there is some sense of like, maybe let's hold off and see how that does. And then maybe we re-explore Flintstones if that's successful.
That's a really good point. I wonder if like it's a mixture of that and the fact that they've seen what the reception was for Velma and they don't want that for their channel too. I think it could be a mixture of the two. So it's like they saw the bad reception for Velma and now they're waiting for the live action Scooby-Doo movie to see if maybe that's the one that if that's the direction that they could go in with an adult oriented Flintstones.
Yeah, you might be right. The Velma thing might have scared them away a little bit. I think you make a good point.
Also, okay, so apparently these were the in the
Oh, here,
cartoon movies from
here, here.
1993. Yeah.
Shout out to Blossom. Blossom's got the super chat for us. Thank you so much, Blossom, for certainly coming through and supporting it, supporting the channel that way. Yeah, Pebbles and Bam Bam were grown up only in the cartoon movies. Yabba Dabba Doo and Holly Rock, a bye baby, back in my birth year of 1993. Okay, so we have gotten them in the adults before. I think in something tells me in the animated one, I mean the live action one, maybe in the sequel, I don't know if they were grown up, but I do think they might have been like still like toddlers, or maybe not toddlers, but maybe like 3 or 4 or something like that. I don't remember. But thank you for clarifying that, Blossom, that they were grown up in the cartoon movies.
Good to
Uh,
know. I gotta
y-
check those out.
yeah, absolutely. Sam does say they should have a Johnny Quest live action film or show. I would still be
Yes,
down
that
for a
would be
Johnny
it.
Quest.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool also.
I would say
Uh,
they should do an adult animated Johnny Quest, but then I remembered, oh wait, they already did that. It was called the Venture Brothers.
yeah, yeah. He says with Daniel Craig in it, I could easily see Daniel Craig maybe
Ooh,
playing the father in it for sure.
yes.
I love that idea. Yeah, let's bring back some of these Hanna-Barbera shows in live action form, man. I'd be completely down for that. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Bedrock, the adult animated sequel series for the Flintstones, canceled at Fox. Even though they are saying this is something that we revisit later down the road, but unfortunately for now, canceled. Let us know your levels of disappointment. Were you okay with this news? What would you like to see from the Flintstone franchise? Certainly, go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stu, we will move on to our last topic of the day. And that's us getting into our Star Wars bag, baby, once again, fresh off of our talk of the Acolyte episode number 8, the season finale. Now that we have put one Star Wars series to bed, it's time to look to the future, Stuart, as we are, in fact, expecting another Star Wars series by the name of Skeleton Crew. That is, in fact, set to go ahead and drop later on this year. We have not seen or heard much about this series, as they are very tight lipped. We have seen some concept art things revealed. I think we might have even seen some still photos from sets, as Jude Law is going to be playing one of the main characters in here, opposite like 3 or 4 kids as well. Um, but we also have a returning John Watts, who, if you guys, if that name is familiar to you, it certainly should be. John Watts helped helm the recent Spider-Man trilogy for the MCU. So if you were a big fan of those films, if you enjoyed his vision and what he wanted to bring into Spider-Man, just envision that in the world of Star Wars, as he is in fact going to be tackling a Skeleton Crew series. And one of the directors this week that took part in filming one of these episodes came out and talked a little bit about this brand new series, Stuart, and we're going to be diving into it today. They also went ahead and released our first promotional artwork for this series itself. No release date as of yet, but this is our very first promotional banner or poster, if you will, getting the opportunity to showcase some of the main characters in here, and all 4 of them very much children. We got clearly a droid in here too. This does give me sort of Goonies, Spielberg-esque, or what do they call it? What was, I don't remember the name of the production, Amblin kind of production studios kind of vibes in here, just from this artwork alone. But what do you think of just the promotional material here so far?
Looks fantastic. Yeah, no, you nailed it spot on. Like, kind of gives you that old school Spielberg vibe. I don't know if this was like actually hand painted, but it looks like it was. So it's
Oh
either
yeah.
going back to the roots of old school movie posters, or giving a good or making it look like that's what they're doing, but doing a really good job of it.
And I love the Star Trek Geordi vibes that I get from
Yes.
this little kid over here with the side buzz and the visor on. I really dig the design of that, and I love the fact that one of these kids is an alien too. I am kind of curious to see like just the practical effects that go on with this, but it's from just first impressions, I'm kind of intrigued just from the promo alone, especially with the skulls in there. Like, damn, clearly you could see the kids being following along with somebody. I would assume that adult in front of the line there is Jude Law's character. There seems to be maybe a planet in the background also, so definitely going to be going on some sort of adventure. Maybe there's a MacGuffin in this series that these kids are hunting or certainly looking for. I don't know if this is the main villain in the background, this droid, or potentially this pirate sort of thing. So I am fascinated alone, just the idea that our main characters, with the exception of Jude Law, are going to be children in here.
Also, of course, there's skulls on the poster. It's called Skeleton Crew.
Yes, there you go. Good, great point. So this is from Total Films website here, gamesradar.com. It says Skeleton Crew director says that the new show will bring a childlike perspective to the Star Wars universe. It says going from award darling Minari to a full scale blockbuster like Twisters might seem like an unexpected career path, but director Lee Isaac Chung pulled it off. Bringing heart and character to the supersized summer spectacle. And I have been hearing great things about Twisters, so I got to check it out. But it wasn't as if Chung had no franchise experience before Twisters. He previously directed an episode of The Mandalorian, and will be helming an upcoming installment of the new Star Wars TV series, Skeleton Crew. So it looks like he's going to be directing at least one of the episodes. That new series, which is expected to drop in Disney Plus in late 2024, is created by John Watts, the director of the Spider-Man Tom Holland movies, along with Christopher Ford, and is said to be an Amblin-style coming-of-age adventure that will follow a group of young children on a journey through the galaxy far, far away. Jude, this is new. I hadn't seen this before. Jude Law will also appear as a Jedi. What? Has anybody talked about this on Twitter? Like, I literally have not even read that before anywhere else until just now.
No,
Is that
my
true?
first time hearing about it.
Is that true? Jude Law will also appear as a Jedi. Holy crap. Okay. Speaking with Games Radar, Chung teased what we can expect from this show. I can't wait for people to see this thing. He said during an interview for Twisters, it's got a lot of John Watts in it. And anyone who's a fan of what John Watts does, he's very childlike in a beautiful way, in a way that he tells stories and how he captures a childlike perspective in things. He brings that beautiful perspective to this story of young people in the Star Wars universe. He also emphasizes that it promises something very different for the Star Wars universe. He says, I felt like I hadn't seen this. When I read all the scripts and when I look at the designs of what he was designing, he asked if I would be on board. It was a no-brainer for me once I saw what he was working on, and then also working with him on that show and with Jude and all the incredible actors who we have. It was a lot of fun. We were just having fun all the time. Seeing the kids were incredible and great. What I hope is that it's really going to touch families, and families are going to want to spend a lot of time with the show. So that's what Lee Chung winds up saying in regards to getting the opportunity to. So really highlighting what John Watts, I think, is certainly known for when we've seen what he's been able to do with a group of high schoolers in, say, something like the Spider-Man films. He says he's very childlike in sort of a beautiful way in how he tells stories and captures childlike perspectives and things, along with just the idea of this feeling vastly different from anything else other Star Wars related that we've kind of seen. So the fact that he's hyped and excited for this, hoping that families kind of resonate with this this series as well. This feels really promising, Stuart. Again, we haven't really seen too much of it. Hopefully San Diego Comic-Con or D23 kind of exposes us to a little bit more of what this this story and series could certainly bring. But, you know, Stuart, I would love to get your first initial thoughts on this when you hear him talk about what this series could potentially bring and what John Watts' sort of attention to this is like. How do you feel about it?
Okay, so this whole time, because I think timeline-wise, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's supposed to take place during Mandalorian and Ahsoka. So this whole time, I was thinking this was going to be a complete standalone with no impact on the greater narrative. But then they had to mention that Jude Law is going to be a Jedi, and now I'm just like, what? So I'm wondering, like, does this have a bigger impact on the overall narrative? And if so, like, if he's with a bunch of children, are they going to be like potential younglings, and maybe he's trying to drop them off onto, the planet that Luke is currently on to train? This just opens up so many more questions I originally didn't have. So that's kind of cool, but but apart from that, going to the show itself, something that I really like is how, them saying that he's bringing like a childlike perspective to the Star Wars universe, and it very much reminds me of the potential they had with the straight to TV movies with the Ewoks, because
Mm.
they aren't. The second one's okay, but the first one, not a good movie. And I think it all just kind of comes down to the fact that they wanted to produce something fast, and so they didn't really have the most well written script. So it was, you have this kind of potential for a movie where it's like a bunch of kids on the planet with these Ewoks, basically working together and that kind of stuff. And it was a movie that I think had potential, but fell very, very flat. And now we get to see what that could have looked like. Had it had like kind of the budget, had it had the time of like an actual movie or TV show. And so I look forward to seeing that kind of come back, but hopefully given a little bit more effort than they put into with the Ewok series, and of course a lot more money.
Yeah, I do want to piggyback off of something here. So for those of you curious, when Skeleton Crew takes place, you are right. It does take place during the Mandalorian time frame. It is set after the events of the Return of the Jedi, during the same time frame as the Mandalorian. In an article a while back, Collider.com did say Skeleton Crew is set 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. So that would be A New Hope. For those unfamiliar, this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi and starting at almost the same time as season 1 of The Mandalorian. So it's definitely within that Mandalorian seasons 1 through 3 sort of time period. So this is definitely going to be sort of that new Republic era type of show as well. So all taking place after Return of the Jedi. I did find something here on Reddit that did mention Jude Law as a Jedi from an article about a year or so ago from Variety. It says Variety confirms Jude Law's character is a Jedi, and he is seen using the Force in an exclusive trailer at Celebration. So it says we got this first look at London's Star Wars Celebration convention. It does say here the first footage from this series was also shown, including shots of the children on speeders in school on spaceships and a tease of a familiar villain from The Mandalorian, which I think I do remember hearing a tease of a familiar face from The Mandalorian being one of the pirates that we come across in either season 2 or season 3. So I do think we're going to get a familiar face here. And it says the clip ended with the first look at Jude Law as a Jedi. So he is clearly using the Force in this show as well. So this was from a year ago, revealed during the London Star Wars celebration. I don't know how that passed me by, but that's cool. Another Jedi that somehow survived Order 66, or at least came to have abilities during that time of the original trilogy. So I am kind of curious to see what his story is definitely going to be. But I'm kind of really excited for this, Stuart. I really am. I would not be opposed to people like, especially after the Acolyte and some of the divisiveness that came from Star Wars television stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if some people, are a little trepidatious about anything new Star Wars kind of related. But when I think of just the talent that's involved in here, whether that be Jude Law, who's almost amazing and always solid in like anything that you put this man in, and then you combine him with John Watts, literally off of one of the hugest, like biggest successes of his movie career, in doing what he did with Spider-Man, and now bringing him into this franchise. I'm kind of stoked. I really want to see what that emblem style, that's Steven Spielberg inspiration of bringing to the big screen. I think a lot of us have always wanted to see what Steven Spielberg could do with a Star Wars project. This may be the closest that we kind of come to, but the one thing that I enjoy about this article here is, when I do think of John Watts, I do think of somebody that knows how to work with kids, or work with a young cast and kind of, get the best out of them. One of the things that I've always loved about Spider-Man is always sort of like his supporting cast members, and the people that he has around him. And the fact that we got to see somebody like Tom Holland at a young age as Peter Parker in high school in Spider-Man Homecoming, you get to see just the different character perspectives, how he works off of each different character, and how these kids feel like high school kids. And it made Homecoming feel very much like a coming of age kind of breakout story for Peter Parker, and hell, his whole entire trilogy. So if there is anybody that I think can really tap into making a coming of age story and having a childlike perspective and bringing that into a big sort of franchise that spans the galaxy sort of thing, I do think that John Watts can give us some really great levels of storytelling that I do think some of the previous Star Wars projects may be lacking in regards to certain things, with the exception of Andor, that I think did an incredible job. But I do think John Watts is more than capable of paying attention to the little small details that I think, while I was a fan of the Acolyte, there were definitely hits and misses throughout that series that I think we've talked about that they really could have explored more, that I don't think somebody like a John Watts is going to miss. I think he's going to understand the importance of just those little nuances here when it comes to character development and how these characters work opposite each other. And I hope that he really does a great job of building those character relationships to make every little scene certainly count, and just have the stakes there. So I think if anybody can bring this childlike perspective out, I do think that it's certainly John Watts. So I'm kind of really looking forward to this one, man, to be completely frank with you, Stuart. I think we might have a hit on our hands here.
Same. The one thing you did, last thing you said, you mentioned stakes. So the one thing I will say is that while I do hope there are stakes in terms of our characters, I do kind of hope that this remains as kind of like a not fully standalone, but mostly like standalone in the sense of not having like a huge impact on the overall Star Wars narrative, but rather just being like a personal Star Wars story amongst this group of children trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. Like, don't get me wrong. I definitely want to see some Easter eggs. Like, I definitely want to see some Easter eggs and how John Watts sort of plants maybe some of the events that happened in the original trilogy, certainly in here, building off of what this new universe certainly looks like. I hope it's not dependent on that stuff, and not even necessarily dependent on, hey, we've got to fit into what this future Dave Filoni kind of movie might be as he sort of wraps up this New Republic era, or at least puts together a first really big event that happens in this New Republic era. I do hope that this is very much a standalone story that can build off of what the original trilogy created, but isn't dependent on that either. Like, I do want to see it as kind of its own standalone. So I would be on board with that. And I do like the idea too of this being kind of he mentions in this article that he kind of hopes that this allows families to spend a lot of time with this show and kind of really touch families. And I think when you are talking about something like Amblin style, I do think of that like a film that the whole entire family can gather around and watch on several occasions and kind of keep going back and revisiting it. I don't know if this is going to be like a holiday special type of event, like every Christmas you want to come back and revisit this, but I do think it's something important, especially when it comes to coming of age stories and Amblin style films, that you do capture not only the childlike aspect, but the family vibes too in it.
Hmm. It is funny though. You mentioned the holiday aspect of it, and while the holiday special is not canon, you know what is canon?
What?
Life Day.
Yeah, Life Day is canon. You're right. Marcelino says, I'm glad that they made one of the kids an alien, but if it were up to me, I would only make one of them human, but at least one of them is a cyborg. So they stand out and is something new. Yeah, I guess he is a cyborg or some sort of like something going on with this dude here with the Geordie visor. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see who these characters are for sure. Man, that Jude Law as a Jedi just threw me off though, bro. I was not expecting that whatsoever, but I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's weird because this apparently isn't anything new. Apparently, we've known about this for a year, but
For a year.
it's weird because this is my first time hearing about it.
Sam says Skeleton Crew might be in November. Well, we'll see. We'll see when it releases. All right, guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in regards to Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Are you excited for it? Are you kind of trepidatious after everything that's been going on with Star Wars as of late? Or do you think that they got the right man for the job when it comes to John Watts and all the perspectives that you're seeing some of his directors talk about this series? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
I mean, elements of it are canon, but as a whole, I don't think it's canon.
All right, with that out of the way,
Oops. Sorry.
Let's go to our last segment of the day. Stuart, you ready, man?
I am. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
All right. And for those of you who are curious, how do I submit a live viewer question? It's relatively simple. We'll go ahead and certainly show you how. You're just going to go over to our YouTube channel, as you see here. And every Saturday, if you click on this community tab, we will in fact post a live viewer question post. We drop this every Saturday for you guys, and then you can go ahead and submit your questions over to be answered live on air. So let's go ahead and put these in order and tackle your guys' questions and comments today. I might put on some music as well, as we like to do around here. Again, if it's a little bit too loud, go ahead and let us know in the comments section, and we'll lower the music if we have to. Let's get these questions ready. But yeah, let me know if the volume's too loud. All right, Stuart. Let's go ahead and
it's taking a minute for your voice to adjust.
I think it's probably important. I mean, can you hear me okay?
Now I can. Yeah, now
okay.
You're good.
Perfect. Here we go. First set of questions. Jessica Friedman, do you think that Stargirl should have gotten another season? And with Madam Web flopping at the box office, could it impact female-led superhero movies getting greenlit in the future? I will answer the second part of this question. Yes, I do think that it will impact female lead superhero movies getting greenlit in the future, unless they're super committed to it. Like Kathleen Kennedy seems like she's super committed to it, at least with the Rey Skywalker thing. So I definitely do think we'll have her a lead film with Daisy Ridley for sure. But other projects, I don't know. We'll see what Marvel Studios announces. I've been hearing rumors of a Scarlet Witch potential movie from Marvel Studios. I am a big Elizabeth Olsen fan. I think she's been killing it as Wanda lately, whether that be in her WandaVision series or even in Doctor Strange 2. I absolutely loved her as the villain in that movie. So, I do think it's a potential they can still do that, but it does make me I do think that they are kind of pushing the narrative that one of the reasons why it failed was because of it being a female-led superhero film. And so I think executives tend to learn all the wrong lessons from box office failures and movies that bomb. And so I do think that the unfortunate impact will be the number of female-led movies that kind of go forward. It just seems like that's what Hollywood, as far as the studios executives, are kind of having that mind frame and mindset of. I don't agree with it, but I do think that's where they're at right now. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. No. Hollywood always learns the wrong lesson. That is something that has been around since the golden age of Hollywood and will continue until, if we ever get to a point where Hollywood goes bankrupt. I don't know. As for the first part of the question, though, yes, I would have loved a season 4 and honestly a season 5. Hell, give me 6 seasons and a movie for Stargirl, because that show was excellent. And I think it could have been like Buffy. You could have really continued up until their college years, I think.
Oh, yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah, I definitely would have wanted more series from Stargirl for sure. Marcelino, what did you think of the Vixen web series CW made? I personally loved it and wish they continued. Mark Guggenheim has described it as a Vixen explores the magic side, Arrow explores the crime side, and Flash explores the science side. I personally think that Supergirl is partially the blame, as once it became part of the Arrowverse, they shifted more focus towards Supergirl being the female member of the Trinity. I don't know if I would blame Supergirl necessarily on it. Because I honestly thought that didn't they bring Vixen to live action? I don't think it was the same Vixen, right? But wasn't it like one of her ancestors that they eventually brought Vixen into Legends of Tomorrow? I don't know. Yeah, right. I don't know if they necessarily utilized her as best as they certainly could have, but I definitely would have loved to have seen more of Vixen. I didn't catch the web series though. Did you have a chance to watch it? Those two?
I did. They brought that version of the character in for one episode of I think it was Arrow. I don't think it was the Flash. I'm pretty sure it was Arrow. But unfortunately the actress was too busy and she was already committed to another show, and that was the official reason of why she never came back to the Arrowverse, unfortunately. It would have been cool to see her again, but I wouldn't blame Supergirl for it particularly. I would just say, just scheduling conflicts, it happens.
Yeah, when I think of, granted, yes, Vixen probably would have explored the magic side of things, while Arrow did the crime, and Flash was more of a science. I still think Supergirl just fits that sort of trinity of heroes. Off of it more so than maybe what Vixen probably would have represented. But I definitely get the idea of what Mark Guggenheim was going for when it comes to the Vixen character. And I do think that she probably still could have had an impact in the Arrowverse in some way, shape, or form down the line. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily blame Supergirl for it, but I do think it was a missed opportunity. Maybe it's something, considering the fact they didn't really utilize her too much in live action. I do think they probably could have easily recast her and brought her into another series on her own. Maybe have her a part of Black Lightning kind of pop up, or have her as a bigger role in Legends of Tomorrow than what they certainly did. So I just think it was a missed opportunity.
Okay, you just reminded me of one of the most confusing moments from Black Lightning, because I thought they were officially confirming that Black Lightning was part of either the Arrowverse or the Supergirl universe, because there was like that one scene where oh god, I'm blanking on her name, but the youngest daughter in Black Lightning.
I'm drawing a blank on her. I remember her. I know you're talking about though.
But yeah, she basically is like, talking to her mom, and she's just like, I don't think you can relate to me at all unless you turn out to be Vixen. You're not Vixen, are you? And she's like, nope, I'm not Vixen or Supergirl. And that made me think, oh, wait, so this is in one of those universes then, right? And then turns out it was just kind of a throwaway line.
Wow. Shout out to Joseph Ricci. What's up, Joseph? Appreciate you coming through. He says, you guys talking Supergirl? He says, I got some exclusive news for you. Supergirl will be in the Superman movie. Okay, thanks, Joseph. Thanks, Joseph, coming through with that exclusive news. Let's see here. When it became Arrow, Flash, and Black Lightning, they all had a plan for what their series would entail. Stuff like the Bratva, League of Assassins, the Multiverse, the Outsiders, and many other plot lines were stuff that they planned for from the beginning. However, when it comes to Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Batwoman, they were not planned out at all. They may have set stuff up initially in their first seasons, but weren't committed to them. So why didn't Supergirl, Legends, and Batwoman plan out their seasons as well as commit to them regardless of any changes being made behind the scenes?
I can't speak for Batwoman or Supergirl, but I know for Legends, it's because of the production kept changing when it came to plans. Like they didn't even have a showrunner, I don't think, for the first season. That's how like unplanned it was. They just knew that they wanted to do a team up, and they were just like writing as they kind of went along. Because I know it was originally meant to be like an anthology show. Every season would focus on a new team, but then yeah, things kind of changed, and that's also why like a lot of actors left after the first season, was because they were only contracted for one season. So I don't know why they did it that way. But I think like the production of the show and like how expensive it was probably had a big thing to do with it. If I were to guess.
I do wonder. Yeah, I don't necessarily have a concrete answer for this. I mean, in regards to Supergirl, I think maybe Supergirl. I think Supergirl had a couple issues. One, I think this was like the first time CBS doing a big superhero show. So I do wonder if they were kind of tentative, at least in the idea of like, let's just see how this first season kind of goes. Maybe we'll plant some Easter eggs or some things here for potential future seasons. But this is our first time doing something superhero related. So let's take it one thing at a time. And then we got the big move over to CW, right? And so the production for season 2 was different, bringing in brand new characters and stuff. And so maybe that too was kind of a testing ground to kind of see how things would work out for Supergirl on CW. And then maybe not into season 3 did they feel a little bit more confident about maybe potentially planning things out. So I think Supergirl just had a lot of uncertainty when it was not only released but then also changing networks the second time around. So I mean, I think that maybe that had something to do with it. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but I have a feeling that's something to do with it. Let's see here. I have an idea for a theme.
Sorry, I just want to specify something. So what I meant was when that line was said, that was before the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. So before Black Lightning merged into the Arrowverse. Yeah.
Let's see. I have an idea for a theme in the future Power Rangers series, an army-based series. Basically, rather than Rangers operating as a team, each Ranger will be in control of their own army. The soldiers will wear typical armor that would designate as the same color as the Rangers they work under. That kind of reminds me of like the coinless.
I was thinking that exact thing.
Centuries. They will not wear complete spandex that they reserve for the Rangers. For a majority of the series, the Rangers will not operate as a team. Instead, the fights will be structured as one Ranger in their army versus the monster and the minions. However, over the time, the Rangers will bond with each other and slowly start operating more as a team. The finale will reveal that the soldiers will turn on them after the government was successful in taking over the world. This is also where the culmination of their arc were. They are forced to fight their former comrades, but at the same time is that they finally work as a team like Ranger teams before them. Think of how the first Avengers movies was less about characters going on arcs and more of the idea of the team going on an arc.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Doomsday. What do you think it is with people hating red Sentai Rangers who have unique catchphrases like Takahora and Lucky?
I don't know. I absolutely love Lucky. Like I assume you're talking about Lucky from Q Ranger. I freaking he's one of my favorite Sentai characters.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I think maybe they just find the catchphrases corny, you know.
Oh, they're super corny, but I love that.
Corny. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it is that sometimes they might find it corny or cringe. I guess for me, like I don't mind it so much, but sometimes I will agree. Like sometimes it is just overused. Like maybe you say it once an episode, but sometimes I feel like they can overuse it in certain episodes and just kind of go a little bit overboard with it. I don't mind the catchphrases myself. It is a little corny to me, but it just feels like classic Sentai. As long as they're just not using it in almost every sentence, then I'm okay. I'm a once an episode type of guy, and then after that, I'm done. Is it annoying when you say you enjoyed a season like Samurai, and then someone tells you that if you like Samurai, you should watch Shinkenger, which will make you dislike the American version? Isn't it annoying when you say you enjoy a season like Samurai and then someone tells you if you like Samurai, you should watch Shinkenger, which will make you... I don't necessarily know if it'll make you dislike the American version automatically. I mean, it is one of the reasons why I dislike the American version, but I don't necessarily know if that's a given for everybody that watches it.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how much you like a season and what it is about the season that sticks out to you. And if the Sentai counterpart doesn't have that, you can still enjoy both separately. So I think it's weird if people say it objectively, like, you will 100% for sure hate this version of Power Rangers once you watch the Sentai counterpart. That's when I think it's weird. For me, it was like when I saw Megaforce and then Go Kaiger. I already disliked Megaforce as it was, but then watching Go Kaiger made me dislike it even more.
Oh yeah, true, true. Um, all right. We also got. He also says before Deadpool and Wolverine official release this Sunday, what are your last minute predictions about the movie? Whether it's about plot or potential cameos we could see. Look, man, the only last minute prediction I have is Taylor Swift is in this movie. Okay, they can deny it all they want to. Um, I think Daphne Keene recently came out and said because she was part of the trailer, like everybody knows Daphne Keene is in this movie now. She says she she learned how to lie from Andrew Garfield.
Oh, that's great.
She took her inspiration on how to keep a secret from Andrew Garfield. And I think Taylor Swift is doing the same thing. Just lie about everything at this point, So yeah, I'm hoping, my prediction is Taylor Swift is in this movie as Dazzler. But yeah, that's about all I got.
I also think that too. And then my prediction is the plot's going to be simple. It's really the story that's going to be, the one with layers. And by story, I mean like the story between Deadpool and Wolverine. But I think the plot will be something simple like Deadpool's universe is about to be wiped from existence. So he has to team with this variant of Logan, and they end up in the I keep forgetting if it's called like the Void, but that one universe, and because that's where the big threat is coming from. So they go there, and that's where all the cameos come in. But they take on the main threat, which is the daughter of Xavier.
Oh yeah. I like that. The most talented man in the world. What do you think or remember of the Samurai RPM crossover Clash of the Red Rangers? Because of budget and the fact that Elka Darville, aka Scott, had already joined the unions, which Power Rangers did not usually get along with thanks to Saban, that was likely why he was credited by a different name and only did ADR. The RPM actors were likely too expensive for Saban and difficult to try and contact, so we were lucky that Ika managed to return to do voiceover. The RPM and Samurai Rangers had different fighting styles. The RPM Rangers never destroyed grinders through brute force, only incapacitated them. They normally needed to morph to actually destroy them. The Samurai Rangers used samurai swords to cut through solid steel, a weapon that was established later on against the Nylok, that if they had reinforced armor, their weapons wouldn't work. Clash of the Red Rangers, Scott and Jaden spent a good chunk of the film bickering due to their different fighting styles and had an actual fight, and ended up being a trick against Professor Cog, but a fight is a fight. What was the most obvious difference between Scott and his Sentai counterpart in Gowanger was that he was a ladies' man. So when the crossover used the footage, Scott was a huge a-hole and showing off to Maya and Emily, which Scott never acted that way in RPM. This film used a lot more original footage than needed to. They literally could have just made this a Scott and Jaden movie and used up the Sentai footage from that, as there was a ton of footage in the Sentai footage. It's ironic and hilarious that 2 years later in Super Mega Force, when they did an episode dedicated to RPM, Saban got so many things wrong that Dimensions in Danger and Beast Morphers actually fixed. I will say, I will agree. Like, it's been a while since I've seen Clash of the Rangers, but I do remember the idea of him being a ladies' man and Scott being a huge a-hole and showing up to me. Like, that just felt really out of place to me when I watched it initially. But what are your thoughts on some of that?
Oh no, I 100% agree. It was definitely not the same. It didn't feel like the same Scott from RPM. And I think the weirdest thing about it is like he comes from a universe where it's like very dystopian and like, people struggle just to survive. And yet when he goes to this universe where everything's normal, it's weird that there's no like moment of him like kind of taking this all in, like a moment of him going like, wow, this looks just like my world before Avengers took over or anything like that. You don't get like a moment like that with him. And yeah, he's just, he's so out of character the entire time. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan either. Let's see here. Ricky, what's up, Ricky? Is the Superman and Lois final season might have a sad ending about the death of Superman? What do you think? Do you think we're gonna get the death of Superman at the end of this, Stu?
I don't think we're gonna get it at the end. I think we're gonna get it at the beginning, and I think the plot is probably going to be kind of similar to that of oh god, what's that comic line called?
Like
It was
the
the one where
not the rebirth, but like when he comes back in his black costume, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. When he comes back in his black costume, but
The
before
reign
that,
of Superman.
Reign of Superman. That's it. Yes, because that was when we got introduced for the first time to Connor Kent, Superboy, who
Superboy,
I
yeah.
don't think we're gonna get. Instead, we're gonna get Jordan just stepping up a little bit more. And then we also got introduced to Hank Henshaw, aka Cyborg Superman. I wish David Hayward would come back to reprise that role. I don't think he will, because I feel like that would have definitely been announced if he was going to. But that would have been a cool way to kind of bring him back into the Arrowverse for Superman's last season. But yeah, I do think we're going to get Hank Henshaw, and I think we may get more Steel. And actually, this might be the season where Steel actually adds the S to his costume as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, so those are
Sam says we need Supergirl in this season to save her cousin. You think Melissa Benoist jumps in?
Doubt it. That would be cool though. But if Melissa Benoist was going to be in the season, they definitely would have announced it. If they were going to introduce any characters, that would have been a surprise character. And if they were going to bring in Supergirl, I could see them sneaking in the actress that played the young Supergirl from the Midvale episodes. That would be pretty cool. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be cool.
The Hank Henshaw callback would be pretty dope if they brought David Harewood back. I would be completely on board, because then you would have the Cyborg Superman, you would have Steel, you would have Superboy, and then you would just need somebody else to play sort of like the Eradicator role. But that could easily be one of the Supergirl actresses. So that would be pretty dope if they managed to kind of do all that for the final season. I don't have no idea, but I would agree with you. After seeing David Harewood again in The Acolyte, it's just a reminder of like, damn, this guy is so good, bro.
Yes.
I really would love to see him in here, but we'll see what the final season has in store. Appreciate the question, Ricky. Me, AJ loves bacon. What's up, AJ? Look at you, two back-to-back weeks with questions, man. It's so good to have you back in here. In the series finale of SPD, right before Sam and aka the Omega Ranger and Nova Ranger return to the future, we got a brief glimpse of both of them in their human form. Turns out both on screen were played by random crew members. Many fans wish we got to see adult Sam interact with younger Sam. Do you think the show should have showed both versions of Sam, or do you think they would have caused a paradox? In all fairness, adult Sam could interact with younger Sam if he just stayed morphed in his ranger suit and not tell his younger self who he really was. In reality, the whole reason Omega Ranger became a ball of light was because Disney was too cheap to hire an actual actor. Anyway, do you think Omega Ranger should have been someone else instead of Sam? Maybe a future version of Boom, who was promoted to a Ranger after working with SPD? That would bring Boom's development to full circle from being someone who failed the SPD Academy, but then given a second chance at being a Ranger in the future.
No, I'm cool with it being Sam, but yeah, I do agree. An interaction between older Sam and younger Sam would have been really good. I'm surprised they didn't do that in retrospect, kind of looking back at it. But I didn't know that the two actors that we see were crew members. That's hilarious, and it makes sense because I remember like there was a panel. I think. I can't remember if I was at this panel or if I saw it online, but I do remember the SPD showrunner mentioning that Disney would not let them have another Ranger actor. And so at first they were going to try to go the entire season without using the Omega Ranger, but there was so much stock footage with him. It was like impossible not to utilize him. And so that's when they were eventually like, okay, we got to figure this out. And so that's why they went with the Ball of Light.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that story before. So that's pretty cool to learn about that. Blossom, what's up, Blossom? As a storyteller with an active as heck imagination, so gotta know, how the dang heck do writers in tokusatsu do it? make it seem real in the Sentai and Power Ranger realm alike. I mean, geez, oh, Angela, if there were any Ranger themes you'd want to see in the Sentai world, what would they be?
So,
go ahead. Go, sir. I'm sorry.
There's a show on Hulu called Go Go Loser Ranger, and what's interesting is they actually kind of tackle that exact thing, because the whole show is basically it's the boys but with Power Rangers is the best way to describe it. And there's a whole thing where the quote unquote villains, as we kind of find out, it's not as black and white as it looks in the beginning, because they basically have to put on a show for everyone to watch. The Go Go Rangers basically kick their ass like every Sunday, and so they have to constantly come up with a new villain. So I feel like there's a little bit of like commentary between the lines of like the actual like writers of Super Sentai talking about what it's like having to come up with constantly coming up with new monsters of the week, and how hard it can be when every design's been done, and constantly have to make sure now you got to come up with 50 more original designs for every season. So there's some funny commentary that I think relates to the writing process of Super Sentai in that show.
Yeah, I think that's what blows my mind about Super Sentai all the time is like, they do this shit on a year-round basis. Like, they have to have, I would assume, like 2 or 3 teams working on things like at all times. Like, it just seems like a revolving door. Like, in reality, when these new series drops, like, they already have to be pretty far along in like the next season of development in regards to costume design, scripts and stuff, right? Heck, maybe filming's already begun for some of these shows when they drop the new episodes. So it does blow my mind in regards to like how they just continue to funnel these things out. And especially like you mentioned, the costume designs, like who comes up with this stuff? Like, not only just the design, but the time that it takes to put these costumes together and like build these costumes. I am blown away about how, not necessarily quickly, but just like how much of a well-oiled machine the tokusatsu shows truly are behind the scenes. It blows me away, just the creativity level that they have in regards to some of these. Are there any themes you'd want to see in this Sentai world? Sam says Western Cowboys. I think we had was it not Shinkenger? Ninja did one cowboy. But yeah, a whole team would have been rather interesting. I still want to go back to like martial arts themed, maybe more of a present or like a modern day martial arts group personally, with some aspects of like mythical creatures. I think another combination for a more modern time, I think, would be really cool to have something along those lines. I hear sports a lot. I don't know if I would be
cool.
Yeah, I would still be interested to see how they put together a sports team. So those would probably be my 2 big themes that I would like to see them explore again.
Would love to see like you get like kind of a sports motif with the costumes, and like the ranger that's like the football themed ranger has like just an extra bulky costume.
Yeah, I would love, or maybe they don't even do football. I mean, maybe they do. It would be interesting if they do football in both forms, one for a Western and then one as a soccer,
And then you have like a joke where the 2 of them are arguing, no, you're soccer, no, I'm football.
Yeah, that's like the constant gag all season long between these 2. Yeah.
But like I stick with the one that I really want to see, which I doubt would ever happen, but because you would need like Toho to sign off on it. But I want to see like a kaiju themed Super Sentai group where they're all based on like actual kaiju. So like the Red Rangers, the Godzilla Ranger, Yellow Rangers, the Ghidorah Ranger, Pink Ranger could be the Mothra Ranger.
And then they all form together and it's the Pacific Rim robot.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That would be awesome. Worlds colliding there.
Collide. I do want to skip over Peg C's real quick. I'll make his stuff last. But let's go ahead and tackle Sam real quick. He says, I would like to see Bulk and Skull as Purple Ranger and Orange Ranger in their own spin-off. And I'd like to see a comic book for Ninja Turtles versus Kamen Riders. Ooh, Ninja Turtles versus Kamen Riders would be a really great one. I don't think we're ever going to get a Bulk and Skull spin-off, but it's wishful thinking. Maybe in the comic book form, who knows? Maybe it's like a graphic novel or something like that. Like they did like Soul of the Dragon or One Off or something like that. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, I dig the Turtles versus Kamen Riders though.
Mm-hmm. That would be sick. Yeah, for the Bulk and Skull thing. I mean, this is funny to say. I actually did have like a script that I was writing like years ago for like a Bulk and Skull. Like it would be a straight to TV Nickelodeon movie, but it would have been called Detective Bulk and Skull. The plot would have been that it would have been like after the events of Samurai Skull like loses his whole like the explanation would be that he got rich from a hotel that he and Bulk started, but then Bulk ended up leaving, and then Skull, that's when the hotel like took off and made a lot of money. Skull got super rich, but then lost all that money from gambling or something stupid, and so Bulk and Skull decided to go back to their roots of being detectives.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, you know what? Here, let's this he also says, I just can't believe that breaking news, Hasbro for Kamen Rider to be Power Rangers on HBO, and it's Kamen Rider game. I don't know why. And so he puts this this Twitter up here, and when I click on the Twitter file or the Twitter page, it is from this person at Marco Satsu. He's got over 10,000 followers, but I don't really know what it's about. But he says, breaking, Hasbro has unveiled a new show to coincide with the release of a new Power Rangers series, tentatively called Power Rider. This show will air exclusively on HBO.
I think that's a joke.
Yeah, I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke.
Saban trademarked Power Rider back when he obtained Power Rangers Samurai, so everyone thought he was going to be getting the rights to Kamen Rider, but then ended up nothing happened from that.
Yeah, I think it's a joke. I mean, somebody does go on to say, I want to believe you, but I can't be certain. This person says, I would never lie to you, bestie. But I just don't believe it. I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah. I'll believe it when I see like an actual like news source about it.
Yeah, like Hasbro can't even get their own Power Ranger series off the line, let alone try and get somebody else to pick it up as of right now. So I'm not going to believe in that until I see more concrete evidence. Power Morphicon this year will be good. Lots of panels for interview, including the Zenith Films media for Power Rangers Rail Riders and next season Beast Hunters adapted Zoo Ozier. I don't know about that. Zenith Media Films, is that like a fan film sort of thing?
Looking that up now because I was actually wondering that exact thing. Yeah, it looks like it's a fan. Oh, okay, yeah. So it looks like it's a fan produced like series where they adapt the Train Super Sentai series.
Okay. So then I would assume that that's what they're talking about next season. Beast Hunters adapting Zoo Ozier by this Zenith Films media group. So not like an official Hasbro is adapting another Zoo Ozier, a Zoo Ozier show or anything like that. So it looks like he's talking about Zenith Films. Okay, interesting. We'll see what Morphicon is like this year for sure. Peg C, what are your thoughts on the anthology Power Rangers comic book coming out? Here's the article by Screen Rant. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Boom Studios, and I would assume that probably will talk a little bit more about this at San Diego Comic-Con, but they have teased at the idea that they have some big plans for Power Ranger comic books going forward, and it seems as though Screen Rant is highlighting it. Let me see if I can bring this up. Also, Stuart, hold on a second.
Yeah, I remember seeing that news and getting really excited because didn't we talk about the idea of like if there was an animated Power Ranger show, we would want it to be an anthology series?
Anthology series, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is cool that we're getting that exact thing, but now in the form of an anthology comic book.
So the exclusive is Power Rangers actors return to write new stories for their characters in an anthology comic book. It's like, hey, Amy Jo Johnson did it. Why can't we? So here we go. It says Power Ranger franchise is known for its epic team-ups, both on screen and on page, and now publisher Boom Studios has put together an all-star creative team for the upcoming Across the Morphing Grid anthology comic, which will feature stories written by iconic Ranger actors starring their characters. Exclusive first look at Across the Morphing Grid #1, a jam-packed issue featuring more than half a dozen stories about some of the beloved Rangers of the past several decades. So this one issue is going to have 6 different stories. Interesting.
Nice.
Is that Billy?
I hope it's a big issue then.
Is that Billy?
I think that's Kendra from Lost Galaxies. It looks like it.
Interesting. Okay. I do love how it's Zeo yellow in here and hyperspace pink. Or Hyperforce pink, excuse me. It says across the morphing grid follows Boom Studios' success of the Return miniseries. Now other Ranger actors will have the opportunity to contribute to the expansive lore of the franchise. From each one of the actors involved to the artists who helped them bring their vision for their characters to life, the enthusiasm for Across the Grid is palpable. So this is the press release. What's better than Power Rangers anthology? How about a Power Rangers anthology filled with stories written by your favorite Rangers? What the publisher calls an epic oversized issue, the readers will be treated as stories from Mighty Morphin Power Ranger star David Yost and Walter Jones.
Ooh.
Second Ranger Steve Cardenas, Nakia Burris from Zeo and Turbo, and Hyperforce star Megan Camarana, along with writers J.D. Sutphin and Matt Groom. Each will contribute to a story that offers a new perspective of their classic characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, that makes sense. So David Yost is making one, Walter Jones is making one, Steve Cardenas, Nakia Burris, and Megan Camarana. So that explains the team up that we have here. So I'm assuming that this is David here. With the blonde hair.
Yeah, then if that's the case, that's
Billy.
Yeah.
Interesting. So is this just one episode? Everyone involved expressed an incredible level of excitement about the collaborative project, what comes as part of an extended celebration of 3 decades. Interesting. So yeah, they kind of talk about it a little bit. So yeah, I'm kind of curious if they're gonna have more than one issue, or if the first issue, if it's successful, then they're like, yeah, let's go ahead and tackle this a little bit more and create some more stuff. But I think that's promising. I do hope. Look, I don't know what their skill level is when it comes to actual writing of content, but I would assume if anything they probably have other writers on board to proofread, edit, and make it fit sort of a comic book format a little bit better. But I think that's pretty promising. I think for me, I get excited to kind of see like what they envision their characters to then do next, or how they envision their characters to kind of act. So I think there's something really cool about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Have you checked out the brand new trailer for Dragon Ball Daima? Yes, we did that at the very beginning. Definitely go ahead and check out our honorable mention segment. Do you think Mighty Morphin Power Rangers VR Troopers crossover would have worked back in the day? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why they know why they never did it.
I don't know. I know that originally the Gold Ranger arc was supposed to tie into VR Troopers, but then they kind of like got cold feet or something.
But yeah, I think it could have worked. What are your thoughts on the original Home Alone movies with Macaulay Culkin? Oh, classics, bro. Mm-hmm. Classics. I don't think I've seen any other Home Alone movie that did not have Macaulay Culkin in it. I think I only watched the Macaulay Culkin ones. He didn't do a third one, right? I think it was like a new kid.
Yeah, it was only 1 and 2. Then 3 and 4 were different kids, and then there was like a Disney Plus one which brought back the older brother. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. We watch Home Alone in this house every Christmas holiday.
It's a great Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's great. We keep it on repeat every now and then. I don't know which one I like better. I probably still like the initial one, but I am a big. There's one scene in Home Alone 2 that cracked. Like I see it all the time, but I cannot stop laughing, and that's when they corner him into the abandoned building, and they're trying to get in, and you got Kevin on the top that's just got bricks that he's just chucking off, and it keeps hitting homeboy in the head, and he's literally on the ground, and he's trying to warn the other guy about like watch out, and the guy always moves out of the way, and it keeps hitting homeboy in the head over and over again. Like I cannot stop laughing at that sequence, man. Like, it makes me laugh all the time.
How many kids do you think died trying to imitate that movie?
But yeah, I was a really big fan of them, honestly. I really did. And I grew up in New York also, so I think the second one probably had a close place in my heart, but the first one is certainly a classic, man, and probably my favorites for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So-
Actually, I gotta take that back. I wasn't personally the biggest fan of the second movie. I thought it was okay, but
Yeah,
first one just had so much heart. I just love it.
Yeah, I think that's why the first one still is a warm place in my heart. Like, I really love the first one. I think I just gravitate to Home Alone 2 a little bit, just because, again, like I said, I grew up in New York, so just seeing some of the buildings and the landscape and stuff, I'm like, it just, reminded me of home, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm always a big fan of the first one for sure. Sam says Home Alone 3 was a good film with Scarlett Johansson was in it, and Home Alone 4 not too bad. So maybe one day I'll revisit some of these. But yeah, man, I've always been a big fan of the first two. But that will do it for all of our live viewer questions, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you, everybody who certainly participated, giving us your thoughts, your questions. Always great to go ahead and bounce some ideas off of you guys and answer your questions. But yeah, I think that will do it for our live viewer question segment. We got anything planned this week, Stu? Do you know? We got anything up coming up?
Either Monday or Tuesday, my Superman season 2, my Adventures with Superman season 2 will be up. My review for that show will be up.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so far, I mean, we just got the finale coming later today, so I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah.
Oh, the finale for My Adventures of Superman drops today?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay. So yeah, guys, look forward to either tomorrow or Tuesday dropping of My Adventures of Superman season 2 review from Stuart. I'm probably going to try and honestly catch a couple of movies this week. I really want to see Longlegs along with Twisters. So I might try and do some movie reviews for you guys. I know Indy has gotten the opportunity to see Longlegs and Twister. He already filled out his report card for Twisters, so I think I'm going to check it out myself. I'm probably going to add our consensus scores together, so not only expect reviews for Longlegs and Twisters, but also report cards from the both of them. I'm also going to try and get ourselves prepared for next weekend. It should be a big episode of A+ Hero Report. As far as I know, we definitely will be going live next Sunday for you guys with a very heavy San Diego Comic-Con sort of recap episode where we highlight all the really big news from that entire weekend. So if you want to be caught up with San Diego Comic-Con, definitely tune in next Sunday with us. And then I think again Saturday, I'm going to talk to the missus to make sure I can get the approval to make sure I can do a live sort of reaction for Hall H Marvel Studios on Saturday. So a packed weekend of A+ Hero Report stuff for you guys. Definitely a lot to look forward to this week as well. So expect a lot of short videos, some clips from our season finale of The Acolyte, some clips from this particular week's episode as well, and maybe some additional videos throughout the week if we get ourselves a pretty cool announcement or some really great trailers to look forward to. So a lot to definitely enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. But Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram. And of course, you guys can always find me here at A+ Hero Report on YouTube.
And yeah, guys, follow us on social media everywhere as you see here, A+ Opinions. Subscribe to this channel, click that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you guys will certainly be notified. Again, if you want to follow us for where we drop all of our news, posters, trailers throughout the week to keep you updated, definitely on our Facebook page, but definitely follow us everywhere on social media. We're also on TikTok at Hero Report. And if you like your forum communities, we do have a Discord forum. You can a link in the description box below if you want to join us over on our Discord as well. But that will do it for us here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll certainly see you guys next Sunday. But in the meantime, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.